frankincense, one of the gifts given by the 3 wise men to the newborn Christ. As rare and as precious as gold, its smoke was thought to have divine powers that directly connected man to his God. From its source in Oman, an epic trade route was forged across Arabia to the Holy Lands, where it was shipped throughout the ancient world. And along the way, entire civilizations emerged from the desert and prospered. Now, 5,000 years after the frankincense trade began, I'm following in the footsteps of one of the great epic trade routes of ancient times. My journey starts high in the Dhofar Mountains of southern Oman. For thousands of years, this is where the finest frankincense came from. It was harvested from the highly valuable trees that covered these hilltops. Today, Musallam al-Mari is one of the last people who still make a living from the trade. This is Boswellia sacra, better known as the frankincense tree. This is how frankincense is produced. A shallow cut is made in the bark and the frankincense sap starts to bleed. Look, 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 look. So this here is frankincense. It has a little smell, but not a very strong one. Each cut will produce a small handful of frankincense resin. A few days later, once it's hardened, Musallam will return to collect it. He brings the resin back to dry out in this cave, his home for the 3 months of the harvest season. This batch has been drying for a week. Quite soft, but it's not as gummy as the stuff that I got right from the tree.
Exactly. They need to be dry for another few days.
Okay.
Then it will be, then Musallam will clean them.
Yeah. Look at this. It's like diamonds.
Yeah. Smell it? Okay. Fantastic, isn't it?
Beautiful. I want to take some frankincense with me, and just like the ancient traders did, use some of my supply to pay my way en route. So, Musallam, if I were to buy 90 kilograms, because I've got a long journey, I've got 2,000 miles to travel. If I were to buy that, what is the going rate for frankincense at this time?
هذا بعض الشيء من عندي هذا كم 240 تمام.
Okay.
He said okay. He's happy to sell his frankincense 240 riyals.
240 riyals.
Yeah, 240.
For the whole 90 kilos?
For the whole 90 kilos, yeah.
So that's about £300. When demand for frankincense was at its height, the majority of it went to the emperors and upper-class citizens of the Roman Empire. Back then, the amount I'm buying would have cost the same as the average Roman earned in a year. We're going to need camels or something. The frankincense traders walked the entire length of the Arabian Peninsula to the Holy Lands. From here, the frankincense was shipped to the empires of the ancient world. I'm going to attempt to follow that epic trail. I've come down from the mountains to where the original camel trains started their journey. There to meet me are the descendants of those first traders, the Al-Mari tribe, with their camels. Together, we're going to walk towards the Yemeni border in the footsteps of the ancient camel caravans. So, this is my frankincense, and as you can see, there's this extraordinary scene around me. Shukran. Everyone crowds round, demanding to inspect my frankincense.
His name is called Haugri, which is
Haugri is the very good. So I bought well. I did well.
Before we set off, the sister of one of the tribesmen asks to see me. As is custom, she stands away from the men. I take a handful of my frankincense and we trade gifts.
Yeah, okay. This is the gift from Khiyar to wearing the clothing. Yeah. She said here it's normal to wearing it.
Oh, I see. Okay. It looks good.
Before the journey, Ria performs a traditional ritual with my frankincense. This tribal blessing also has a practical purpose.
This is the way you keep your clothes smelling fresh and...
Exactly.
Okay.
With the blessing over, we load my cargo. The original traders would have packed up to 1,000 camels per journey, each one with 200 kilos. I'm having trouble loading just one.
So this camel is going to be carrying... I don't think he really wants to be carrying 80 kilos of frankincense. It's like going away on a family holiday and packing the car. You know, everyone has their way of packing the car. Clearly, each one of these guys has got their way of tying a knot. It's good? This man has just given me his dagger. And do I really need a gun?
Traditionally, the people used to have their guns to secure the journey and also. So he's offering you a gun.
So he's going to give me his gun.
Dressed like the old style.
Okay.
People.
I know nothing, precisely nothing about guns. Is it loaded? It's not loaded.
No, no loaded. No.
Are you sure? Can you show me?
Yes, so sure.
Show me that it's not loaded. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
The weapons are just for show. Today, most of these men carry no more than a mobile phone and car keys.
So I carry it like this?
Yes.
Like that? So this is good. So I now have my dagger, I have my gun, I just need my camel. This is a camel, so should I take the camel?
That's your camel there.
This is my camel here? Okay. I'm ready. We go. I'm following you.
The camel trains would have been accompanied by up to 60 men who would take charge of the camels and protect the cargo. Today we're aiming to walk 12 miles. The original caravans would have covered twice that distance in the same time.
When the frankincense was all gathered, it was then taken on caravans like this to a central trading point. And from that trading point, it was then taken by one group of people. They were called the Manaeans. They actually originate in Yemen, but they would come here to the Dhofar region of Oman with their caravans of camels. And they would collect all the incense and make the extraordinary journey to the port of Gaza, 2,000 miles to the north. And that journey would take roughly 180 to 210 days. And I've been walking for a couple of hours. And it's hard to conceive having that sort of length of journey ahead of me. It is ahead of me, but luckily I'm not having to rely on my feet and this guy to get me there.
Our caravan consists of 300 camels, most of them belonging to this man, Albert. He's 50 years old, and with 2 marriages behind him, both arranged and both failed, he now lives with his camels day and night and makes money from selling their milk and newborn calves. And although he knows their ways better than anyone, getting all 300 of them to move in the same direction is difficult enough, even without a camera crew in the way.
There's been a mutiny amongst our camels. All the young camels that weren't loaded have bolted round the side, and there's a lot of shouting going on into mobile phones, which is obviously the modern way of herding camels. And I'm just going to try and find out what we do now, because we've obviously all got separated.
4-wheel drive soon round them up, but this would have been a disaster for the ancient traders. Losing control of their camels would have cost them precious time and possibly the loss of some of their cargo.
So our mutineer camels have been rounded up again, and this is a very novel way of getting them up this slope. We, the camera crew that's freaked them out in the first place, have moved back, but that lorry, the truck that they're following, has got a big tank of water in it, and the smell of the water is enough to pull the camels up the slope. How far can a camel travel without drinking?
1 month.
1 month? No problem.
Albert doesn't need much sustenance either. He lives mostly on his camel's milk, which he thinks gives him superhuman strength.
Look at
He
you.
had
Did you have your appendix out?
no, he had the gallbladder out, and 3 times they attempt to get him to sleep.
And they
Or
couldn't do
they
it.
couldn't.
I wouldn't want to be in a fight with him. I think you would win.
He said he could carry you all the way around this place.
He could? Ready? No, you can't. You can't got the gun and everything. That's it. I don't feel this is very elegant at all.
Before I know it, Albert has got me dancing. This dance is how the Almari tribe seal their marriage. I think Albert may have chosen me as wife number 3.
Goodness knows what's going to happen. How quickly can you get a divorce in a month? That's what I want to know. The sun is going down, the temperatures drop dramatically, and suddenly this just feels like the best place in the world to be, surrounded by all these insane men. But I wish this guy was coming with me, because I think we'd have some adventures. Hey, Albert.
Yes.
Everything is good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So shall I unload him here? Okay.
After 10 hours, we've covered the 12 miles to the tribe's traditional campsite. I'm exhausted, but for the men of the Almari tribe, the party is just beginning. As soon as they arrive, it's tradition for them to play a game called Muftit that tests their strength. Holding 2 rocks, they leap as far as they can. 96-year-old Musalem was the reigning champion for 40 years, and he's not giving up just yet. But Albert's not going to be upstaged for long. I cheer from the sidelines with the women. The Almari tribe uses dance to tell the story of what happened to each of them during their long journey. And they dance late into the night. Tomorrow, I leave Albert and his tribe to follow the trail into Yemen, a country the Foreign Office lists as one of the most dangerous places on earth. The Yemeni border is 1 hour's drive from the camp, and I'm nervous. Nearly 40 years of civil unrest between the government and the desert tribes has been made worse by the recent discovery of oil and gas. Independent travel is not advised, and we're not even sure we'll be granted visas to enter.
This is our first really big test, I think, this border crossing. Yemen has a slightly dodgy reputation at the moment. I know this border isn't used too much, so what they're going to think of a British woman with 2 large, sticky, boiled sweet like sackfuls of incense, I have no idea. Salaam alaikum. Salam.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The original frankincense traders faced checkpoints as well.
Salam alaikum.
Every time they crossed tribal lines, they had to negotiate their passage with a payment of frankincense.
It's from Dhofar, Omani frankincense.
The customs officials don't want any of mine, but their security check is very thorough, and they go through everything.
There you are, you can have a refill in there.
From here on, I have to travel with a security team. Julian Davies is an ex-British Army major who's in charge of our safety.
Threat from Al-Qaeda does exist, and there's a pretty steady tempo of attacks in the country. Now, the first thing is that there's a sequence of events I want things to follow if we do have an incident or an accident.
Julian has left me in no doubt that we're entering dangerous territory. There's only one road to our next stop, and it takes us right through the ancestral homeland of Osama bin Laden.
Now, what happened in the last Al-Qaeda attack was that a tourist convoy was bunched up, and they were all caught up in an ambush on the side of a popular tourist route, not that far from here actually. And as the tourist convoy passed, they opened fire with automatic weapons and tragically killed 2 Belgian tourists and their Yemeni driver.
Surely the way to travel in this sort of situation is to try and be relatively low-key. That would be my feeling. But now we've got a police escort. We've got a van with 4 guys with their uniforms on and big guns. And I would say that would make us more of a target, but then I'm not a Yemeni policeman.
As we get closer to our destination, signs of life emerge from the desert. The mud brick houses that line the road could have been built yesterday or 1,000 years ago. Then the world's first city of skyscrapers appears on the horizon. This is Shabam. When the first frankincense traders passed through here 3,000 years ago, it was little more than a campsite. But prosperity brought by their trade built the world's first high-rise city. Each of its 500 buildings is made from mud. The tallest is 11 stories high. In the shade of the city gates is an open-air tea shop that's rumoured to have been running for 1,000 years. It's called, unsurprisingly, the 1,000-year-old tea shop. Arabic tea is strong, sweet and delicious. And this one is spiced with ginger.
It's the sort of thing your mum would give you when you had a cold.
Dominoes is the game of choice to while away the time here. These men, like most in Shabam, work the farms that surround the city. They come here to escape the midday sun. Inas is to be my translator here.
So much.
How are you? How do you feel?
Quite long journey, quite tired.
I
but
understand.
This is just, what a beautiful place.
She's arranged for me to attend the blessing of a newborn child. It's a huge honour and a wonderful opportunity to see inside these incredible buildings.
You know, when you've seen a lot of pictures and you've heard a lot about a place, it's almost that it's mythical, that you can't really believe it actually exists. They really are mud skyscrapers, aren't they? Assalamu alaikum.
I think we should go this way.
This way?
Yeah.
That lady who just went past us, she's completely covered. You're not, and I definitely am not. Is that going to be a problem here?
No, definitely not. These people are still stick to the traditions, to wear black, to be all in black.
Yeah.
Because I live in the other city, in Sana'a, in the capital, life there is different. I can't dress this way. The main thing is that I'm covering all my skin and my hair.
Yeah.
For you, they expect that you don't wear like them because you've got your own lifestyle, you've got your own beliefs, so they don't mind.
But it's not, and so it's not offensive if I'm not covered
Not
up.
at all.
Close?
Yeah, this is actually the house. See, the
This
girls
one
are
on
waiting
this
for
side.
us. Salam ya jama'a.
We're meeting the Salam family, and as is custom here, the entire extended family lives together in the same house.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam alaikum, Talib. كيف حالك? Allah يحييك.
Handprints on the wall.
Yeah.
Take my
Yeah,
shoes off.
we need to take our shoes here. Okay. كيف حالك? Let's get in. Hi,
The
hi,
women
hi.
of the house live behind closed doors and behind the veil. To be welcomed in is a real privilege.
حبيبي كيف انت؟ انت مبسوطة؟ الحمد لله. غير حبيبتي. الله يحبك. هذه كيت.
Assalamu alaikum.
أفراح.
Afra.
Afra is the mother of the child and is the one who's going to perform the blessing. It's an ancient custom dating back at least 2,000 years, far older than Islam.
One of my first duties as a guest in this household is to provide frankincense for the blessing of a child, which is happening today. We have a little problem, though, of how to film it, because there are absolutely no men allowed in this room while the blessing goes on. It's only the women and the children of the household. So we're going to just set up a camera. The camera crew have got to clear off, and it'll just be me and the girls.
Afra's baby girl, Heba, is 6 months old. Most children are blessed at around this age. She uses the frankincense smoke to cleanse and purify the child and to ward away evil spirits. I wonder whether the frankincense brought by the 3 wise men was used this way to bless the baby Jesus. Half an hour later, the blessing is complete. Every child born in Shabam is welcomed this way. Now Heba joins them, protected by a tradition as old as the frankincense trail. The calm of the blessing has made it easy to forget that this desert frontier town stands at the edge of a troubled country.
Are there any problems along this route here with local tribes or anything like that?
Before we leave, the police warn Julian of potential danger along the road to our next stop, the city of Shabwa.
Anything further west is a really strong tribal area.
Right.
And the problems between the tribes means that some of the tribes will kidnap any foreigners who go into the area as a bargaining tool. Anything west of there really is a no-go area as far as foreigners are concerned.
Right. That's really disappointing.
So we're not allowed to go the way of the original traders to Shabwa. But we can pick up another part of the trail that began with the advent of sea trade 2,000 years ago, when frankincense was shipped to Kana and then carried overland.
This tribal conflict is real. They're not just making it up, but it's not obvious to a foreigner. You you don't pick it up. There aren't sort of, you know, borders as such, and it's not like you know when you're crossing a border into hostile territory. It's sort of insidious. It could come from anywhere. People keep telling you there is a risk, there is a risk. So at the back of your mind, it's like you're being forced to have a kind of jumpy feeling that you wouldn't normally have, because it doesn't, out there, it doesn't feel like you need to be jumpy. It really doesn't.
So we head off away from the danger zone and towards the ancient seaport of Kana, 300 miles away. Outside it's 47 degrees and there's uninhabited desert as far as the eye can see. But amazingly, in the middle of nowhere is a roadside cafe.
The main meal for us.
Kind of healthier, really. It's fresh.
People here don't like any food that is not fresh and cooked at the same time.
Okay.
They will refuse it.
We've been here, I would say, less than 10 minutes. And the Yemeni end has done rather better than the Western end. God, these guys eat fast. So, I think they want to get back on the road, which is probably a good thing, because we've still got many, many hours to travel.
After driving all day, we reach the Arabian Sea and the port of Kana. This now empty bay was once a major hub for the frankincense trade. Up to 10,000 tons of it was shipped here annually from Oman, and an entire city was built around its wealth.
It's amazing to think that, well, according to the Roman historian Pliny, 500 BC to 500 AD, and that's a long time, that's 1,000 years. This was one of the most important ports of the Arabian Gulf.
These ruins are all that remain of the fortified warehouses that stored the frankincense. The cargo was so valuable, they were built like ancient bank vaults.
This city was rumoured to be so rich that the traders who lived here in their stone houses had gold and silver around their doors, apparently. Down there, those buildings would have been stuffed to the gunnels with frankincense. And out there, not little fishing boats, but sailing boats and rowing boats that had come all the way from Dhofar in Oman, where I started my journey, to here, carrying their priceless cargo. Out there would have been camel caravans, carrying this frankincense way into the heartland of Yemen.
The next morning, I'm following the trail north to find one of the great monuments of the frankincense trade. It's hostile territory, and I'm travelling with the protection of the Yemeni army.
It's hard to imagine what would have been going through the cameleers' heads when they got to this point in the trail. This landscape is very unforgiving, and it's early in the morning now, and it's already searingly hot. The sun's just kicking off all this black rock and sand.
As many as 10,000 loaded camels walked along this track each year, tirelessly trudging 12 hours a day. Our lead vehicle barely makes it to mid-morning before its tyre punctures.
It's gone completely now.
We come to a complete stop, 3 miles away from the landmark I've come to see.
Basically what's happening is that the drivers of our vehicles don't want to go any further up this wadi because they're worried about their cars.
Maybe 1 hour. Go.
1 hour, yeah, no, I know. That's why we have to start.
With no alternative, we have to walk.
This barely discernible path is 2,000 years old, and it was the principal route that every single caravan took. And the reason that we know that they definitely took this route is because the tribe in Shabwa was so powerful that it took tax from every single caravan. And the way that they did that was that they built this astonishing gate across this wadi. And every caravan was filtered down here and through this gate. And if they didn't, if they thought, ha-ha, we can be sneaky because there must be lots of ways across this mountain, they could be punished. And it wasn't just any old punishment, it was death.
This ancient gate is a reminder of a forgotten civilization which became rich on the frankincense trade. For close to 1,000 years, the tribes who controlled this region claimed a quarter of all the goods that passed through here. Generations of frankincense traders had to pay up before they could continue their journey north. But the ongoing tribal conflict means I can't follow their path towards Saudi Arabia. Instead, I have to skirt around the edge of the danger zone to Aden, Yemen's modern capital of the frankincense trade. Seven hours later, the volcanic skyline of Aden appears on the horizon. Its port is the oldest and deepest in Arabia, and the city is built in the crater of an extinct volcano. Its strategic position made it a target for the British Empire, which ruled here from 1839 to 1967. I'm joining Sheikh Tariq, a lawyer who remembers those colonial days.
Did Aden feel quite British during the British era?
Oh yes, certainly very much so.
So did you have things like the red post boxes and...
All around.
Really?
Imagine in the early 50s, brand new buildings, 5 to 6 stories, all of these, 80 to 90% were occupied by the British families.
Although Aden was a British colony for 128 years, there's little left of any colonial influence. Except, of course, for a statue of the most commemorated British monarch in history.
I can't believe there's still a statue of Queen Victoria in Aden.
Well, after the socialists came in, after the independence, then this was removed. Since then, the British government continued to ask for it.
Oh, really? They wanted it back?
They said, we want it. If you don't want it, where is our Queen Victoria statue? We want it back. We will take it back. We want it. And it was not given to them until the Duke of York came here. And when he said that Queen Victoria was his great-grandmother, they felt so shy and sentimental about it that they got it out somewhere. She was cleaned up and then put here.
And there she is.
That's it.
In all her slightly rotund glory. But would most people living in Aden today, I mean, do they think it's slightly strange to have a British queen?
Some of them feel strange about it, but it's being tolerated.
The people of Aden have had to tolerate not only the British, but the Russians and the Portuguese, who also ruled here. Now its colonial days are long gone, but the port's prosperity remains, and it's become the hub from which frankincense is shipped across the globe. I've come to the warehouse of one of the world's biggest traders.
This is the main warehouse district of Aden, and I'm hoping that I can find someone who can tell me a bit about this frankincense. Oh, look at this place. It's definitely selling aromatics. It's amazing. This way. Okay. Shukran. I feel like I've gone back about 200 years in time. This is amazing. Assalamu alaikum.
Safaraz was born an incense trader. 4 generations of his family have operated out of this warehouse. The smoke of the resin he sells will rise in temples and churches all over the world.
My little sack is feeling very insignificant all of a sudden.
Safaraz employs a team of professional incense graders who sort through the frankincense and take out all the impurities. Like diamonds, each lump of resin is graded according to its clarity and weight.
This warehouse is absolutely packed to the roof with sacks. It's clearly still a thriving business.
This is actually used in a variety of uses. One of it is for household burning.
Okay.
And it is also used in medicine and perfumes also.
Extracts from the frankincense shipped from here will be used to make some of the world's best-known perfume brands.
Okay, well, I'm slightly embarrassed now to show you my pathetic little store of frankincense compared to yours.
Yeah.
But I'd love to know what you think of it. Where would this be in the scale of good to bad?
Well, this is on the higher side of the very good one. You know, absolute, you know, stunning,
top quality.
Top quality. This is the top of the range.
Top of the range?
Yeah, this is the top of the range.
Safaraz said he'd be able to sell my frankincense for 4 times the amount I bought it for in Oman. 3,000 years on, frankincense still has the power to generate wealth in this ancient port. The next day, I couldn't resist going to see one of the world's craziest sporting events. It's taking place in a village just off the road north of Aden. I catch a lift with a local. What I'm about to witness is camel jumping. Not camels jumping, but men jumping camels. Unsurprisingly, the men of the Zaraniq tribe are the only people in the world who practice this sport. The camels are lined up into position, ready for the big event.
So this is obviously how you prepare to jump over a camel. Or if the rumour is true, several camels. Just to give you an idea of height, I'm about 5'9". This camel has got to be over 2 meters in height.
Camel jumping is a rite of passage for the young men of the Zaraniq tribe. They claim they don't use weapons in battle. They rely instead on their famed stamina and strength to overcome their enemies. Camel jumping is a way of honing and proving that physical prowess. These are today's competitors. The rules are simple. The man who jumps cleanly over the most camels is the winner.
There's obviously a real pride in this. And everyone's just kind of gathering around. They've just kind of been trickling in from the villages.
With the camels firmly held in place by their tails, the competition starts. The favourite, Ahmed, makes the warm-up 2-camel jump look easy. But this is just the start, and Mohammed, the smallest of all the competitors, is not going to let lack of stature be a handicap.
You can hardly bear to watch.
Three camels prove a hump too far for some.
No, it's not funny. That's really hard.
And then it's 4 camels and just 2 men left in the running.
Someone's jumping now, someone's going to jump now. That's 4 camels. But this just seems madness. I mean, some of the guys were barely clearing 4 camels. 5 camels has got to be too many, surely.
Without delay, Ahmed charges in, full steam ahead. Now the favourite is out, 16-year-old Mohammed is the last one left. Tribal respect is won with these jumps. If he makes this, he'll be considered a warrior. And in the end, there can only be one champion. Mohammed's prize is the admiration of the entire tribe.
Where is he? Here he is. Oh, should we get him, clap him? Yay. You did really good. Really well. Shukran.
I'm leaving the Zaranite tribe and the desert plains to cross the Haraz mountain range, the home of the highest peaks in the Arabian Peninsula. 3,000 meters above sea level, it's a different world up here. 95% of Yemen's land is desert, so these rich green valleys are treasured for agriculture. Terraces cut into the steep cliffs use every corner of its fertile land. High above them, at the top of the Haraz Ridge, medieval fortresses stand guard. Their towers were built from the granite cliffs they rest on. Today, people visit them for their magnificent views, but once they defended the nation's capital. Cradled in the heart of the Yemeni highlands is the ancient, beautiful city of Sana'a. It's known as Sand City, after the son of Noah, who, according to legend, built it on the highest ground he could find after the waters of the Great Flood had subsided. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and like a living museum. At the heart of the old city is the spice market, where goods have been bought and sold for thousands of years.
Oh, it's not good quality, though.
Smile.
No, this isn't what I'm looking for. Do you know the white frankincense, like Omani?
Yes. Like this.
Ah, that's looking a little better.
For this, for carbon, number 1, original.
This is number 1, is it?
Yes. Excuse me, stop. 1 minute.
Such
This
a
frankincense. Good, very good. For this, madam. Good. Yes.
What are you saying? I don't smell that bad. Do you use this at home?
Yes.
Yeah? For what?
House, kanisa, good.
For karisa?
Kanisa.
For
Yes.
against insects?
Yes.
Brilliant.
On Sana'a's streets, many women are veiled. So far, I haven't worn one, but tomorrow I leave for Saudi Arabia, a country so shut off from the outside world, I have no idea what to expect or what I'll have to wear. But Inas is helping me prepare for every possibility.
I'm just worried about how I should behave, you know. I mean, Yemen feels very easy, and I think Saudi's going to be, I don't know, do I have to sort of walk with my head down? And
there is a stereotype that we don't accept others as they are, and we want them to be just like us.
Yeah.
That is not true in all Arab countries, not just Saudi Arabia. Okay. They accept you as you are.
Okay. What, I mean, are you wearing kind of jeans and a t-shirt under that?
I'm wearing the same thing you're wearing, just underneath it.
So that it is almost like a kind of an overcoat.
Exactly.
Right.
And even in Arabic, it's the same translation for overcoat thing.
Oh, is it?
It is.
Overcoat.
Yes.
Okay. We go now.
Yeah, let's push the seat. It's that one.
It's got a whole sign for them and everything.
Yeah.
There we go.
So Inas is taking me to one of Sanaa's best-known shops for baltas.
What do you suggest for Saudi? Do you think I should go quite simple?
No.
Flashy?
They love flashy, more decoration.
Really?
Really. مقاسها؟ ايش مشكلة هاتوا. المهم يكون مقاسها.
Well, that's quite elegant. Look at that. What do you think? Yes?
This is the longest.
The longest one they
so
have.
if it doesn't fit, we have to change the store.
Okay.
And I hope it fits
Okay,
because it looks elegant.
Let's try it.
And better quality, the fabric is better.
Oh yeah, this is long. Oh look. What do you think?
ايش رايك؟
It's
سألك
good.
ايش رايك؟
Okay, so.
And here is the scarf, which is the same.
Oh yeah, okay.
Have a seat. So that we wouldn't look funny in the store.
You're going to have to give me intensive lessons on how to do this. I'm hopeless.
Tonight.
Yeah, I can't even, I can barely put on a kind of, warm muffler scarf. Do I look like Mother Teresa?
If I'm putting makeup and I'm going to a wedding,
Yeah.
I have to wear this thing. So please experience my suffering sometimes.
I am This is too weird.
And can you breathe?
No.
You look like a San'ani lady.
Do I look like I'm looking out of a pillar box? And what about this bit? I mean, when do you have to cover up all of yourself?
If you're putting lots of eyeshadow, blah, 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 because, in Arab countries, we put a lot of makeup.
So, can I just ask an incredibly obvious question? Why don't you just wander around with no makeup on looking like
I'm doing it. That's why I'm not wearing the veil.
But you look beautiful. Oh. Ooh. Oh, I don't know, Ines. Really? Have I got to take this with me? Oh,
Just in case.
Oh. I'm making myself weep. If it wasn't so uncomfortable, it would be really funny. I can't believe what you women go through.
It's just a minor discomfort, and I know it's something that millions of other women go through every day. But having to dress in a certain way has really hit a nerve.
That whole balto experience this afternoon with Inas was... I mean, it was funny, but at the same time, all my tears weren't entirely hysterical laughter. You suddenly realise how lucky you are as a woman living in the West and not having to dress like that. And now I've got to go to a country which is famous for having very little rights for women. So I'm feeling a little bit kind of mixed at the moment.
The next morning, with my veil in my bag, I have to take a plane to Saudi Arabia because tribal warfare has closed the border with Yemen. I'll be arriving in possibly the most enigmatic country in the world in just over 3 hours. If the border wasn't closed, I could follow the original route due north from Yemen and up the west side of Saudi Arabia. But now I have to fly to the capital, Riyadh, before I can rejoin the trail. Saudi Arabia is a kingdom of contrasts and contradictions. Here, devout faith and extreme wealth have to find a way to coexist. The latest luxury cars cruise the streets, but women are forbidden from driving them. There seems nothing unusual about the airport until I realise there are no women to be seen. Anywhere. Women in Saudi Arabia are not allowed to go outside their houses alone. They must either be accompanied by another woman or an approved male member of their family. I too must have a male chaperone.
Hello, are you Mr. Dowie?
Yes,
Assalamu alaikum.
How are you?
Very good.
How
I had
was
a
your
very
trip?
good flight. It was good. Thank
Okay.
you very much. Are we ready? Now, do I need to cover
Yes,
my head?
please.
Okay.
It's better to cover your head.
Okay. I'm not very good at this yet.
No,
I need one of
you-
you see, the men's one's much easier to
Yeah, you
handle.
will learn.
Okay, like that? Is okay?
Yeah.
Fine. All right.
I've no idea what the rules are, but Dowie doesn't seem concerned, despite my rather unusual luggage.
This one is very heavy
Yes.
and very smelly. Thank you. Now, presumably, I can't sit in the front seat. It's not allowed.
You can, but not now.
Right. That's fair enough.
Since the beginning of Islam, Saudi Arabia has been largely closed off to the non-Muslim world. New government policies have only recently started giving visas to carefully controlled tour groups.
All we hear about are the bad things, the very strict rules and regulations, that women are not allowed to drive, that they're not allowed to work, that they have to travel in the back of the car, not the front.
You want to be in the front?
Well, I don't have to be, but it would be nice to have the choice.
If you want, I will put you in front, but you will change the idea about Saudi life.
You think?
Yes.
You think I'm gonna see a very different Saudi in the next 2 weeks?
Everywhere in Saudi Arabia, you will see different idea. You will change your idea about Saudi.
Do you think a lot of people don't come because, like me, they're worried that, particularly as a woman, all you're going to do is cause offence and you can't go anywhere, you have to be shut away? Is that true?
No, that's wrong idea, because as soon as we go to the center, we will see a lot of ladies.
Can we do that now? Can we go to one now and,
Yes.
and have a look?
Yes.
Because I'm afraid I'm still doubting you at this point.
Only 3 hours from Yemen, but suddenly I feel I'm back in the West. Riyadh's shopping centres are depressingly similar to those back home. Many of the shops here are recognisable brands.
A lot of these shops are very familiar to me because I'm really surprised, but these are all shops you would see on any British high street.
And they are good customers. They buy a lot.
They buy a lot of stuff.
Yes.
But you know, there are high-heeled shoes, there are short skirts, there's like low-cut
They do it in the community.
And some women here, they don't cover up so much. It feels more relaxed in here.
Yes. As I told you, life is changing.
Relaxed it may be, but women still need to be accompanied and still have to wear the abaya, whatever they choose to wear underneath. But at least I get a chance to meet and talk to Saudi women here face to face.
I don't understand, because you all wear these, abaya, but can you wear anything you like underneath?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, anything.
Short
Jeans,
skirt?
T-shirts. Yeah, it's okay.
Really?
Yeah.
It's choice. It's choice. And your parents don't mind?
No.
They don't say you can't go out looking like that.
There is people open in Saudi Arabia and there is closed.
Okay, so some families are more free and other families are more strict.
From the moment I arrived, I've been in no doubt that Islam defines life in Saudi Arabia. And the call to prayer makes this immediately obvious to outsiders. Unlike anywhere else I've been, every single shop closes for prayer 5 times a day. And I'm told this happens like clockwork every day of the year.
It's just coming up to 10 to 5 and the call to prayer has sounded. And as you can see, all the shops in this little mall have suddenly closed down and the people are just melting away before my very eyes.
Although this is a fast-changing society, and although I've been able to walk around without covering my head, conservative Islam has an inescapable hold here. Islamic religious law, known as Sharia law, is the law. Just a few blocks from the shopping area is Riyadh's religious centre, Safa Square.
Safa in Arabic means sort of highly polished, gleaming white. And it's here in this square that perhaps that name takes on a very sort of symbolic status, because this is where Saudi Arabia tries to make its society I don't know, more unblemished, highly polished, but they do their cleaning up in a particularly brutal way to us in the West. Because the punishment for crimes like murder, rape and drug smuggling is death. And the way they put people to death is to behead them.
The square is overlooked by the headquarters of the religious police, known as the Mutawar. Dr. Abdullah is a senior member of the Mutawar and amazingly agreed to be interviewed.
I wanted to ask you about the square here and the fact that this is the square where the public executions take place for people who have done terrible crimes. But to us, it still feels terribly brutal to behead somebody in public.
Okay. Yes, but if you look from the viewpoint of a spectator or from outsider, but if you are the family of the victim of the murder, I think you will understand it.
When an execution takes place, can you sort of describe the scene? What happens?
Well, the executing judge come here and read the sentence, and then the person who execute the penalty will cut the head of the murderer.
Do you prepare them in any way? Do they have a painkiller, or is it just you kneel down? Are their hands tied?
Yes, I think they need some medication before to help them go through the execution of the judgment. But again, in the last few years, we have a lot of people, because of the Islamic education, and Islam encourage excusing the murderer.
Oh, really?
And
so it's not automatic anymore?
No, not automatic. It's not automatic since the beginning.
Wow.
If the parents or the relative of the victim are excuse the killer, then it's their punishment. It's their rights to ask for the killing of the murderer. It's not the state. It's the right of the family of the victim.
So far, it's felt as if that call to prayer has been the only constant on my journey. But when the traders first walked through what's now Saudi territory, Islam didn't exist, and instead of religion, it was the frankincense route that linked the desert tribes of Arabia. Now the most enigmatic and powerful Arabian nation lies ahead of me. In the next programme, I explore the unseen worlds of Saudi Arabia and meet a prince whose head for business has made him one of the richest men on earth.
And are you constantly looking for new companies to invest in?
Oh yes, I just took a decision.
I'm in a bond film.
I cross unexpected and astonishing landscapes.
I am a little bit nervous.
Me too.
In the pristine waters of the Red Sea, I dive an untouched shipwreck. On the city's streets, I meet a generation that's fueled by the wealth of oil. And I explore the ruins of an ancient empire that once flourished on the profits of the frankincense trade. From its source in Oman, an epic trade route was forged across Arabia to the Holy Lands, where it was shipped throughout the ancient world. And along the way, entire civilizations emerged from the desert and prospered. Now, 5,000 years after the frankincense trade began, I'm following in the footsteps of one of the great epic trade routes of ancient times. My journey started in the mountains of southern Oman at the very beginning of the ancient frankincense route. Here, trees are still tapped for the resin that brought immense wealth to generations of Arab traders. It's like diamonds. With my own supply, I set off on the trail with the Al-Mari tribe, the descendants of the original traders. and crossed from Oman into Yemen, a country divided by tribal conflict.
We're going to be #1 target for the tribes to kidnap.
Despite this constant threat, I entered a world almost unchanged since the days of the frankincense trail. After walking nearly 700 miles across Oman and Yemen, the ancient traders walked north with their camels along the entire length of Saudi Arabia. To follow in their footsteps, I had to prepare to enter one of the most secretive countries on earth.
You're going to have to give me intensive lessons on how to do this.
The overland border between Yemen and Saudi Arabia was closed, so I left the frankincense trail and flew to the Saudi capital, Riyadh, where the next part of my journey begins. Only 100 years ago, Riyadh was little more than a village, 4,000 or 5,000 people insulated from the world by a vast ocean of sand. Now it's the world centre of the oil trade, estimated to make as much as $1 billion a day in profit. Up until now, Riyadh, like the rest of Saudi, has been virtually closed off to the non-Muslim world, and I'm only allowed to travel accompanied by my official male chaperone, Dowie.
Why has Saudi Arabia decided to be more open now?
What Saudi Arabia going to do? They want to change the idea about Islam, about life here. So everybody is welcome to come here and see Saudi Arabia, Saudi people, and our history.
To introduce me to modern-day Saudi Arabia, Dowie is taking me to meet a member of the royal family, a prince with a passion for business. And this is his office. He owns the entire building, and from here runs an empire that has made him the richest man in the kingdom.
This is the entrance to the Kingdom Tower. Can't really see much from the car. It's a staggering building, though.
When demand for frankincense was at its height, those trading it became immensely wealthy. Today, I'm meeting a modern-day equivalent, but instead of trading frankincense, he's trading on the stock market.
One of the big problems about getting this invitation, which is great, to meet Saudi's richest and one of the most influential men in the world, but what do you bring him as a gift? So do you think this is going to be all right as a gift? It's got frankincense inside it. It is popping. Thank you. Hello. I'm fine, thank you very much. It's an amazing building, but an even more amazing office.
Yeah, it is, actually.
My name's Kate.
Renee from British Club.
Very nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you.
Please have a seat.
Okay, thank you.
I suddenly feel quite overwhelmed and incredibly frumpy. How unfair is that, to be met by a woman not wearing a great big black sack, but a tiny little pencil skirt and perfect heels and enormous amounts of makeup? This is the man. And he owns large chunks of all those companies. And even me, with my minimal business brain, has heard of most of those.
The Corporate Communications Department. I'm the deputy to...
Very nice to meet you. Very well. I'm
Welcome.
feeling a little overwhelmed, I have to say.
Yes, that's how I felt when I first came here, but every morning as well.
Well, it's everything, the scale of everything, but also all of you are so glamorous, and I'm feeling a little bit kind of underdressed.
Well, you can take your abaya off if you like, yes?
And is there a proper form of address? Do I need to call him Your Royal Highness? Or...
Of course. I mean, his title is His Royal Highness Prince Al-Walid. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounds, from what I've read, he sounds absolutely fascinating, but quite scary.
There's no need to be scared.
And finally, I meet His Royal Highness Prince Al-Walid bin Talal.
Gosh, there's more cameras in here than there are outside. Hello.
Hello, Prince Al-Walid. This is Kate Humble.
Your Royal Highness, very nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
My every action is being recorded by Prince Al-Walid's personal TV crew, which documents every minute of his public life.
Can I, before we start, can I give you this?
Yes, thank you.
Inside there is some frankincense that we collected in Oman.
Thank you. Oman, huh?
I believe you're the grandson of the founder of Saudi Arabia, is that right?
King Abdulaziz, yes.
I'm amazed that you bother to work.
I think every person has to work. It's part of our religion, part of our ethics, part of our habits is to work. I mean, every person has to work and produce.
You've amassed a huge fortune. Are you the richest man in the world? No?
No.
Not quite?
No, I'm among those, thanks God.
You're among them. Is there such a thing as too much money?
Well, you know, really, it's, you know, once you go beyond a stage, it really becomes academic because there is only so much you can do with the wealth. But more importantly is how you can apply your wealth to help society and plow back part of it to the system and advance certain causes that you believe in.
The meeting over, I'm unexpectedly asked to join the prince for the evening.
What?
He has a full-time staff of bodyguards and a convoy of vehicles that accompany him wherever he goes. I've been told we're going to head to the desert to attend a tribal gathering, but first we're going to pick up his wife, the princess, from his personal resort at the edge of the city. I feel like I'm in a Bond film.
What do you mean unsecure?
We're in a cavalcade of these very kind of threatening-looking cars. I don't know whether they're bulletproof, but you suspect they are. And I want to ask him, because at the moment he's clinching some multi-million-pound deal, I think. There's lots of big numbers being bantered about. And are you constantly looking for new companies to invest in?
Oh, yes. Always looking, especially in these days, good opportunities.
Do you work very much on your own instincts?
I have to involve the investment committee.
Yeah.
And I like second opinion, always.
Yeah.
And I always tell my people working with me, you, in your particular position, you have to be better than me.
But you seem to be able to make decisions instantly.
Immediately.
Really?
Immediately.
Don't you ever have times where you just think, I don't know what to do?
Sure, no. If there is a decision for that needs some time and meditation, I do it. I take my time in the desert, for sure. But some decisions have to be taken immediately.
And you have absolute confidence that you can do that?
I just took a decision right now. And we're going to have a conference call right now based on that.
It turns out the prince was completing a deal to refinance America's biggest bank, Citibank. 15 minutes later, we arrive at Prince Al Walid's city resort. Overlooking Riyadh, it's the size of 40 football pitches. He doesn't live here. It's more like a private playground. Reem, one of the prince's assistants, shows me around. It's described as a resort, but it's just for him and his family?
It's for him, his family, any guests coming from all over the companies, presidents, and many visitors from His Highness that he invites them always.
And does he sleep here? Does he have a house here, or is it just a kind of recreational?
There are some indoors facilities for His Highness, but depends on. Sometimes he spends the weekends around the resort, but the other days he spends it at the desert.
These giant Bedouin-style tents shelter guests and the prince's games. Some of the prince's prize camels and horses are tethered outside to be admired. Every day, the tents are taken down and put up elsewhere in the grounds for a different view. Waiting in the tent is the prince's fourth wife, 27-year-old Princess Amira, and her friend, an Egyptian television star. Is he a very difficult man to be married to? Does he drive you mad sometimes?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. You know, with him, you have to be prepared for anything at any time, even though he's very busy. He knows how to share his time with his family. That's the most important thing for him.
When you married, was there a lot of interest? You know, I mean, our equivalent would be when Princess Diana married Prince Charles.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of interest when...
No, it was very cozy, you know, it was family wedding. I preferred it to be that way.
Just a simple...
Just a simple wedding, you know, it's because it was... This is the scent you brought.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, my mom loves it.
Does she?
Yes, yes.
But don't you worry that your husband is surrounded by so many beautiful women? I mean, not to say that you're not a beautiful woman, but don't you sometimes get a little bit kind of
Why does he need all these women around him?
No, because I know the cause behind it. And all of these beautiful women are well-raised women, you know, well brought up, and they all have great ethics. And with him, I don't worry about it. No. I actually encourage it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Then I travel along with the royal family for a further 2 hours through the night until we're deep into the Saudi Arabian desert. Every month, the prince meets with local tribal leaders and their subjects in a traditional event called a majlis. As a welcome, each of the high-ranking guests is bathed in frankincense. They trap its sweet perfume in their clothing. Close to 1,000 tribesmen wait patiently in the background. There's no social security in Saudi Arabia, so it's custom for Arab leaders to give money to their people. Tonight, the prince will give away many hundreds of thousands of dollars of his personal fortune.
This is very unique to the Gulf region, and even more unique to Saudi Arabia. This tradition has been going on for, I would say, really since long time. It's part of the interaction between the members of the royal family and their subjects. It's not obligatory, but I like to do it because it's part of my culture, part of me living in the Saudi society.
These tribesmen come from the region directly surrounding the prince's desert retreat. Some come just for themselves, some represent their entire family. Each has written his plea down on paper.
So you've had requests for helping to pay a lease on a house?
Yes, for this, for example, this guy said I have a lot of people and I want some money.
So a big family and
yes,
he needs help to help
people.
support.
Okay,
yeah.
The prince's personal assistant, Nala, is vetting requests.
This is his first time to submit a request to His Highness, and his request, he doesn't have any job, so his request is only asking for a car.
Do you have any idea how much money you've given away?
How many?
Tens of thousands of cars?
And billions of dollars.
Wow.
وبيلعوض من الله ثم بنركب سيارة.
إن شاء الله.
هذه اللي بهالخيمة يواد.
إن شاء الله. هذا طلع توفت يعني ماتت.
أبد قبل.
الله يرحمها.
وياه. نبي العوض من الله ثم بنركب.
Is he very happy?
No, he said that my car, I need the car.
He was saying, reiterating his request.
Emphasizing.
Yeah.
Actually, overemphasizing.
But he won't get penalised for that. He'll still
never,
get his car.
Never.
Okay.
This has been going 25 years now. It's really Islam in practice.
So is there a concept of heaven that you go to a special place if you?
No. I mean, this is, some people in the extreme Islam, they talk about these things, you know. I mean, a person does his duty and responsibility in the world, whether he's Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, and then God decides where to put him.
With requests still coming thick and fast, I leave the prince to it. Tomorrow, I head south to rejoin the frankincense trail. No roads connect Riyadh to the trail, so I've hitched a lift with Saudi's National Parks Authority. We have to cross one of the largest deserts in the world to get there. I'm heading south towards the Yemeni border to where the ancient frankincense traders entered what is now Saudi Arabian territory.
Well, we've left Riyadh and we're heading south to rejoin the incense trail. The Cavaliers, and indeed us, have to cross an area called the Empty Quarter. It's a huge expanse of sand, the biggest sand sea in the world.
This desert covers an area larger than France. Some of its dunes are over 1,000 feet tall.
Makes you feel tiny. It's just totally insignificant being in a landscape of this sort of vastness.
Crossing this huge desert takes 4 hours by plane. At the border, we return to the frankincense trail.
Thank you again, Hamid. Thank you.
مرحبا.
مرحبا هلا هلا
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام كيف الحال؟ الحمد لله على السلامة.
الحمد لله.
كويس.
Abu Ali is the head park ranger of this immense territory.
It was wonderful.
A Bedouin tribal leader, he and his 30 park rangers patrol Saudi Arabia's border with Yemen.
Salam.
These Bedouin tribesmen have an intricate knowledge of the desert, which has enabled them to live for generations in one of the harshest environments on Earth.
Oh, I'm really back on the incense trail. Shukran.
It took the original traders 2 weeks to cross this wilderness, and it was one of their greatest challenges. To survive, they learnt to read the desert like a complex code for signs of food and water. Today, Abu Ali and his men use the same knowledge to track gun smugglers who work along the Yemeni border.
Abu Ali can identify someone's footprint, just one man's footprint, from a whole mass of prints in the sand.
Abu Ali is going to prove his tracking skills with a simple exercise. With his back turned, the 4 men walk away. By studying their tracks, Abu Ali will identify which man walked off first.
حنا الحين الحرامي أخذ ذهب مع مجموعة إن شاء الله نتبه بجرته حتى نمسكه نفسه. بعدين في حكومة سعودية هذا حرامي على طول يد قطع هذا.
Okay,
توكلنا على الله.
let's see.
Abu Ali starts to inspect the numerous tracks in the sand.
جرة الحرامي. هذا جرة حضارة.
This is your thief, is it?
Amazingly, he identifies the footprint and he's able to follow the man's track.
ترى راح ورجع ثاني مرة. ترى راح يجي هنا ويوقف.
They've doubled back.
يرجع ثاني مرة.
Just like a fingerprint, every footprint is unique. To Abu Ali's trained eye, it's easy to distinguish between individuals.
I just think this is absolutely miraculous.
And Abu Ali finds his man.
This is your bad man.
From this point, the traders and their camel caravans faced a further 5 days of walking to reach the edge of the desert. Beyond the dunes was welcome respite from the barren wilderness, a city built on the profits of the frankincense trade. Known today as Old Najran, these are its ruins.
I'll go and explore. See you in a bit. This would have been the gates to the old city, and 1,500 years ago, any of the cameleers who reached this point must have done so with a huge sense of relief, because they'd just completed the toughest, most unforgiving section of the route, and to get here must have felt like arriving at nirvana. In front of us, all these buildings here would have been the homes of rich merchants. The streets would have been cool and shady, full of tradesmen and markets, all cashing in on those giant camel caravans from the south.
The city was built before the advent of Christianity and Islam, and ancient pagan symbols adorn many of the buildings. Its strategic position on the frankincense trail made it a target for religious missionaries and for raiders. For hundreds of years, this was a peaceful Christian city, but a Jewish Himyar tribe from Yemen changed its fortunes forever.
There's a legendary city mentioned in the Quran called Al-Uqdud, and some Saudi experts believe that this may have been it. And if it was, then it was the scene in 524 AD of the most horrific massacre. The city was besieged, and the Christian citizens given the most horrendous choice: convert to Judaism or die. They chose death, and over 20,000 of them perished in a pit of fire. Now, at that time, the overland trade routes were in decline, and this city probably would have lost most of its significance. But if it was indeed the scene of that massacre, maybe it was that event that helped bring about the end of one of the great cities built on the back of incense.
Just outside the ancient city are farming villages that are little changed since the time of the frankincense trade.
It's like we're in a whole different country down here, isn't it?
Yes.
And when the camel caravans were travelling through this area, would they have seen this sort of architecture?
Yes.
They're a great shape, aren't they? This sort of tall tower. And did you grow up in a house like this?
Yes.
And was it?
My grandmother still lived in one of these houses. It's very beautiful. It's very warm in the winter and cold in summer.
It wasn't long before the caravans faced another great natural barrier. Not sand this time, but rock. The Asir Mountains are Saudi Arabia's biggest mountain range, and finding a safe route through them presented a formidable challenge. To get a bird's-eye view of the sheer scale of the mountains, I'm taking to the skies with the most qualified pilot in Saudi Arabia. Prince Sultan bin Salman bin Abdulaziz was the first Arab, the first Muslim, and the first member of royalty in space. In 1985, he was part of a mission on board the US space shuttle Discovery, so I should feel safe with him.
No, not at all. You're perfectly on time. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you so much. Excellent weather. Is it good flying weather? We'll see.
Where do you want to go?
Well, ideally, as I say, I believe that the caravans mainly came up this side of the mountains. They obviously couldn't go on the ridge because the camels didn't like it. So if it's possible, after we've flown along the ridge, maybe to have a look down that side, see if there's any sign of what route they might have taken.
So we'll just fly this way. Basically fly the ridge.
We'll follow the ridge down.
Down to probably Al-Shafa.
And Al-Shafa.
These are two mountain areas, and they're absolutely stunning. Al-Shafa to me is the nicer area.
Really?
There I was, thinking we would be going in the Prince's brand new private jet, and we walk straight past. To this. I've flown in tiny planes, I've flown in helicopters, but I've never flown in a glider. And although this one is state-of-the-art with a built-in propeller, frankly, I'm terrified. And I've never worn a parachute before, let alone used one.
Like that? Yes. I'm very excited. I have to confess I am a little bit nervous.
Me too.
No, you're not supposed to say that. Wow, we're up. That's amazing. It's like magic.
2,000 feet up, the Prince decides to switch off the engine. But there's a technical problem.
Is everything okay?
I'm not getting the propeller is stuck. No, it's okay. Okay, now we got it. So let the engine, the hood open a little bit. So see, now it's good. It's quiet.
It's beautiful, actually. I feel quite calm. It was just when you said the propeller was stuck that I started to feel a little bit nervous. It's amazing. Yeah, it's like magic.
Let's stop for a second and see.
No noise.
Many different routes were taken by the caravans through these notoriously rugged foothills. In fact, the Asir Mountains may well have been given their name by the frankincense traders, because Asir is the Arabic word for difficult.
It's so beautiful driving through here, but to see it from here, you just get, as you said, you have
It's so difficult to get an idea of scale of this country, and for me, trying to follow this incense route, to see the journey that those caravans took.
That's right.
To be able to battle with a landscape like this, with all their wealth, you know, on those camels. It's just an incredible feat, really, of human endeavour. Soaring peacefully over the peaks and valleys was actually wonderful. Until the prince decided to show me what a glider can really do. Oh, we're heading straight for the runway. You're insane! Oh my God! Oh, I'm terrified! I hardly dare look. Ah! You're mad! I know we've only just met and I know you're Your Royal Highness, but... Back on the ground and very much relieved, I'm travelling with Dowie to meet a remote tribe of people who know every route through this vast maze of rock. To find them, we have to drive deep into what was once forbidden territory. The area that we're driving through now is well known for being kind of quite far away from the influence of Riyadh. This is a big tribal area, and Dowie is taking me to meet one of the few tribes that has managed to hold on to its traditional dress and customs in Saudi Arabia. Until recently, the government has kept this region off limits to both foreign and Saudi travellers. Unlike the majority of tribes here, they've refused to integrate into Saudi society. Instead of being welcomed with frankincense smoke like elsewhere in Saudi, I'm met by a small boy with a big gun.
Right, I'm going to watch myself around you.
Yes, with his machine gun, with traditional dress. Okay, and he's a proudest machine gun.
How old is this boy?
11 years.
11 years old, and he has a machine gun. Is it very heavy?
ثقيل عليك؟
No.
It's not heavy.
And then the rest of the men arrive, with a song and a dance and more guns. It's amazing, they managed to look fierce and very elegant at the same time. Despite being armed to the teeth, they wear flowers in their hair and are known as the Flower Men. In return for their welcome dance, I offer them some of my frankincense. So this is from Oman. Oh. You use this?
هذا من عمان جايبينه طازج.
Which instead of burning, they decide to eat.
You eat with them, Kate.
I'm going to eat them. I don't like it. I think it tastes like soap. Tastes like soap. Where does the tradition of the flowers come from?
آلاف السنين. Thousands of years, about more than 2,000-3,000 years. When they still start living in the mountains area, they found this dress suitable for mountains. It's about every week or every 10 days, when the smell gone, they change it with a new one.
Ah, okay, so it's all about the perfume.
Yes.
It's all about the smell.
It's all about the smell and perfume. You want to give you this one as a gift.
Oh.
Yes, so you can use it, since we are in Flowerman area.
My head's a little bit smaller than yours. How does that look?
It's beautiful.
It's good? Number one?
So you are a flower woman now.
Once the frankincense traders made it through the foothills, they followed flatter ground north towards what is today the Muslim world's most important sacred site. Ahead of us is the city of Mecca, the birthplace of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. But I can't go there, as the road signs make very clear. It's out of bounds for non-Muslims and forbidden by Saudi law. The traders walk directly from the Asir Mountains through Mecca on their journey north. We have to make a diversion 100 miles west to the city of Jeddah. This is where Muslims from all over the world arrive to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, known as the Hajj. It's a spiritual journey which all able-bodied Muslims are required to make at least once in their lifetime. Today, around 3 million pilgrims come to Jeddah each year. After frankincense and before oil, the Hajj was the economic backbone of the whole country. Local historian, known as Engineer Sami, tells me how pilgrims made Jeddah a trade centre.
The pilgrims, when they come here for the Hajj, part of their journey is to trade, to bring things to sell and buy things, and this is been known for hundreds of years.
Pilgrims travelled here from every corner of the globe, and over time, many of them stayed, making Jeddah today one of the most ethnically diverse cities in the Middle East. The pilgrims' exotic goods were their currency, and frankincense has always been in demand.
Smell that.
Yes.
Frankincense everywhere.
Yes.
And for sale everywhere.
Yes, yes. It's very important commodity for the usage. And there are different kinds. Some you burn to have nice smell in the sitting room, or in the entrance, or the staircase, different.
Can we just have a look?
Yes, we can. Yes, yes, yes.
Look at all this stuff. Salaam alaikum. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the incense that you are selling. Engineer Sami was saying you have different incense for different rooms even. What about this one? Where would you burn this one?
Mix.
Mix?
Yeah.
You could use in the sitting room?
Sitting room.
Yeah.
This one for bedroom.
Look at you both, you're being very naughty. Is it going to mean that I'm going to run away with you, Engineer Sami? I'm going to smell it.
Smell.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
It's quite potent. Is it very expensive? How much for that jar?
25.
25 riyal?
Yeah.
But for your wife, I'm sure she is worth it.
Very cheap. For her? Very cheap.
As sunset approaches, Sami wants me to experience Jeddah's unique call to prayer.
Wow. What timing! From every direction.
36 mosques in 1 square kilometer. And it's been calling for 1400 years.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And it is the same word from the time of the Prophet. And look, people closing their shops, and everybody is going to pray.
Oh, just magical. Thank you.
Very well.
It's such an incredible sight and sound that I find myself completely overcome.
And soon they will be reading Quran, and maybe one of them will be reading the story of Jesus and Mary, because it's in the Quran, and Moses. Look at the shop they're closing to go to pray.
I feel quite moved.
It is a nice experience.
Beautiful.
Yes. And it's authentic, and it's human. It's not recorded. So each guy is calling. And in the past, 100 years ago, before the introduction of the microphones, they used to go all the way to the top, and he calls. And then everybody hears.
Despite being the gateway to Mecca, Jeddah has a reputation of being the most liberal of Saudi's cities. But still, with no bars or nightclubs, no concerts or cinemas, and men and women banned from mingling, what do young Saudis do to have fun? Well, this is what the boys do. They play with their cars. The average cost of these modified cars is around £40,000. It's a price that most of these guys who are students can afford. The government pays them a salary to go to university.
Well, of all the things that I didn't expect to see in Saudi Arabia, it was this. High ride, Jeddah style. It's absolutely mad. There's probably, I don't know, a few hundred people here, and these just extraordinary cars everywhere. And it's like a kind of fairground and a freak show, but for automobiles. Why do people do this? This is so mad. Can I go in and just read it? Okay. Is it all right? Yeah. Can I? Move out of the way, guys. This is a girl driving. You've no idea how dangerous this is. Is the handbrake on? Oh my goodness. I probably burnt up half the Saudi oil field, and that is amazing. Can I see this one? Because it just looks mad.
This car has the strongest hydraulic system in the whole, maybe in the whole Middle East.
Really? So everything is about hydraulics?
Yes, everything.
Although these cars are built to attract attention, sadly the boys don't have much chance to impress the girls. The authorities don't let these cars out on public roads. They're confined to car parks, like this one.
So great. I am, I'm terrified.
Just a few blocks away, some of Jeddah's girls are having their own fun. But what seems like an innocent game of basketball is actually a risky political statement. Powerful religious clerics have banned girls playing sport in public, deeming it un-Islamic. These students and housewives play their basketball on private property, but despite that, they still risk being arrested. And Dowie isn't happy about them playing either.
Now then. What does that look mean?
I don't know.
What's the problem?
It's the first time I saw this thing.
First time you've seen women playing sport?
Yes.
Any sport at all?
Any sport at all.
Does it say anything in the Quran about women not playing sport?
No, there is nothing in the Quran saying women cannot play sport. If they are only women, that I will accept it. But when there is a man, I cannot accept it.
Mina started the club 2 years ago with 6 members. Today, there are more than 100. They are one of 7 teams in a women's basketball league in Jeddah.
For a lot of women in Saudi Arabia, this is very unusual and not acceptable in some cultures within Saudi Arabia. It is a tribal belief, and hopefully that will start changing with the globalization, the world being a global village.
What if a female member of your tribe was a really good athlete, good enough to go and compete in the rest of the world?
This depends on the family, about the family. If the family accept,
yeah,
why not?
Would you accept?
No.
Why? I can't understand. Why would you take someone's opportunity away?
That's my way of life. Enjoy.
Okay, in my tribe,
You can't blame.
I don't accept what you're saying. I can't. I cannot understand, and I'm sorry because you've been an amazing host to me in this country and it's your country, but that makes no sense. None.
That's your way. I have my way also.
Yeah.
The next morning, we leave Jeddah. And I have more annoying questions for Dowie.
You know what I don't understand?
What?
I don't understand why women are not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia.
It's not about Islam, about government, no. It's about traditional way.
It's a traditional thing.
Yes.
So as if you were married, you wouldn't let your wife drive?
No.
At all?
At all.
Ever?
Ever.
So what does she do in an emergency?
You call taxi or call one of the
Yeah, and then you've got to
relatives.
wait and your child's choking or something and you've got to wait for a flipping taxi. I mean, we all know how long that takes. They never
Take
turn up when
just
they say
5 minutes. About 5 minutes, everything is solved here.
I shouldn't be surprised. Since the time of the frankincense traders, women haven't been allowed to drive camels here either. Camels were once the most important assets of the desert tribes because their lives depended on them, and their welfare was traditionally the full-time occupation of men. Prince Bandar is the head of the Wildlife and Conservation Department of Saudi Arabia.
At the time we were poor and we were living in the desert, life itself was camels.
Right.
We made our clothes from their fur.
Yeah.
We made our tents from their fur. We ate their meat. We drank their milk. We rode them. We carried heavy stuff on them. We even use, excuse my language, their urine as a medicine.
Today, while the Saudis no longer depend on them, they're still very much in love with their camels.
These are one of the best herds in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Nova, this is Nova.
Nova.
This is Nova. My uncle favorite camel.
How can
and
you tell them all
he feeds her. How can he?
It's
just they are like our children, our family. You could have 100 children and you will tell them apart.
Really?
Yes. And we depended on them in the past for everything in the desert. Now it is time for us to be to pay back what they have given us.
Prince Bandar and his family are paying the camels back by investing in a breeding program to ensure that the finest specimens survive for future generations. They have 3 pedigree herds of different colours, gold, white and black, and each has its own characteristics of beauty.
One of the signs of the beauties is to have big head. You want a long jaw,
yeah,
and wide.
And very wide.
And you want an ear that to be in the lighter color camels to be pointing back. And the lips, they should be long. This is the black camels. The difference between the lighter colors and the darker colors in the signs of beauty, it comes in the ear. Look at this ear. This ear is longer and upright.
Yeah.
This is another herd. It's the herd of my brother Prince Sultan bin Saud. Hala yalla hayya. This is one of the top camels in Saudi Arabia for this color. This one is absolutely at least 9.5 out of 10. This camel could be worth, you know, a couple of millions.
That's about £500,000.
This is one of the best stud camels in this color in Saudi Arabia.
Now you see,
fantastic looking camel.
Is he dribbling because there are all these beautiful women around?
Exactly. Because, well, he would not have no heart and no feeling if he did not get excited with all these beauties around, you know?
The other animal the desert tribes of Saudi Arabia have relied upon for survival is the falcon. This is a Saker falcon, sadly now an endangered species, due in part to the illegal trapping of wild birds for the global falconry trade.
They are part of the desert tradition, first of all, because of the necessity of catching food. A man with a good falcon can go on his camels or his horse and catch 4 or 5 birds, a few rabbits, and feed the whole group and the whole clan. But also I want to say something, that when the game birds fly and you release that falcon after them, you feel that your heart have grown wings and flown. It gave the owner a feeling that he is flying.
Travelling north from Mecca, the traders entered the most tightly controlled territory of their route. These deserts were ruled from an ancient city that was built into the rocks of the Hismar Mountains.
It's easy to think that a journey through the Arabian Peninsula would be, well, quite boring really, as far as landscapes are concerned anyway, that it would just be lots of flat desert and sand. But it's been incredibly varied, and I think this landscape really takes the prize. It's so beautiful. It's like a giant natural sculpture park.
These are the ruins of Medine Salah. The people who lived here ensured the safe passage of the trade caravans in return for large taxes, which made them exceedingly wealthy.
I think of all the places that I've visited so far along the incense trail, it's this one that offers the most tangible proof of just how influential those ancient trade routes were on the people living at the time. This plain here was once a vibrant city. It was established about 200 BC by a tribal group called the Nabateans, and their rise and fall almost exactly matches the height and decline of those overland trade routes. But as ever, it's not the houses of the living that tell the tale, but the houses of the dead.
All that remains of the great city are 131 private tombs, each of them hand-carved out of solid rock. Built for the families of the city's elite, their elaborate facades stand testament to the great wealth that frankincense brought to the region.
When archaeologists first started working here, this room was absolutely full of stands, and none of these stone benches were visible. But it's believed that this was some sort of meeting house, somewhere that important members of the town would meet to discuss affairs of state, or probably religious issues as well, because this entrance down here, which is staggering, this natural break in the rock, led to the most holy area of the city, and along the walls you can see these little niches carved out, little places for the local deities, and there's centuries of inscriptions and graffiti, some in Aramaic, some in modern-day Arabic, charting the journeys that thousands and thousands of people must have taken through here. And just imagine, you've come on your caravan all the way from Oman, and all you want to do is thank your gods for your safe passage thus far, and to pray that you'll be able to continue your journey unharmed and get lots of money for those precious goods that you were carrying. And what I love about this place is it may have been a religious centre for the Nabateans, but they were incredibly democratic, and they knew that the people that came here, that had brought them their wealth, would also want to worship their gods. So what they did here was the niche in the rock there you can see is empty, and what they could do is bring their own little deities, put them in that niche and worship them, which is just, I think, the most lovely idea, that anyone could come here and it would be meaningful to them. And what a place to worship.
This desert utopia came to an end at around 100 years after the birth of Christ, when the overland trade route finally stopped being profitable. Frankincense that was once carried here by the ships of the desert began instead to be transported by ships at sea. The development of sea trade meant that merchant boats could sail along the length of the Red Sea in around 60 days, more than twice as fast as camels taking the overland route. The Saudi Arabian Coast Guard are granting me extraordinary access to see evidence of this sea trade route for myself. I'm joining Eric Mason, a professional diver who recently discovered an untouched and ancient shipwreck. With 35 years diving experience, he's one of the few with permission to explore Saudi's highly guarded and pristine reefs.
So now they've stopped all shore diving
Wow, that's
only
brilliant.
escorted diving, yeah.
Yeah.
So they said if you can't respect the reef, then stay off it. So it's good for us.
That's great.
Good for us.
That's
Conservation.
Great. Yeah, brilliant.
Reliable sea trade started along this coast when a fleet of Roman warships was sent here by Julius Caesar to protect merchants' boats from pirates. Soon, even the smallest of privately owned boats were able to make safe passage, and everything from cinnamon to pepper and, of course, frankincense sailed north towards the Roman Empire. We're heading 30 nautical miles offshore to explore what Eric thinks is one of many ancient merchant shipwrecks along the route. He discovered it by chance.
So how did you find it? Because I mean, it's
Purely accident. We sheltered behind, same as the captain of the shipwreck did.
Yeah.
We came behind the reef in the storm.
Yeah.
And we were messing around looking for something to eat.
2 hours offshore, we see waves breaking on a reef. Eric thinks the ancient merchant ship was sailing north when it hit this reef and sank. The remains of it still lie on the seabed. The Saudi Coast Guard have given me permission to dive with Eric, but only according to their rules. Unsurprisingly, I'm forbidden from bringing anything to the surface and also from revealing the precise location of the wreck.
Well, I have to say, diving in Saudi was not something I expected to be able to do.
It's actually not something many people have done.
I know, I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah.
Eric, to tie it up with our intense route, you know, something that you think of as being purely overland, but of course, it was the sea that took over.
It really did.
And to
It
see
destroyed the land
evidence of
routes,
that,
in fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to see evidence of that is going to be amazing.
No question. Simply because it hasn't been dived, people haven't been coming here. So we've been blessed. We've been blessed by paranoia. Okay.
Okay.
Tank open?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, it's nice to be not wearing that abaya, just for once. I'm amazed you didn't make me wear it underwater, Eric.
Why not? This is Saudi Arabia. Please remember where you are.
I know.
Are you okay?
I am.
And then we enter another world and another time. 15 meters below us, in crystal clear waters, lies the skeleton of the shipwreck. In front of us are the wooden beams of the ship poking out of the seabed. This is the remains of the top deck. The rest of the ship is buried deep in the sand. Terracotta jugs are scattered everywhere, many almost completely intact. This is almost certainly only the second time this wreck has been dived, and none of these relics have been studied or dated. It's extraordinary that it hasn't been plundered, and to see so much evidence of that ancient cargo. Then, amazingly, Eric finds what appears to be an incense burner. Its shape is exactly the same as the burners still in use today.
Was it what you expected?
Oh, better.
Oh.
It was amazing.
Good.
I can't believe we saw an incense burner 20 meters below the Red Sea.
To dive an untouched wreck is a unique experience and one I shall never forget. Today I felt like an explorer finding something that has remained hidden for centuries. But then my entire journey through Saudi Arabia has been one of discovery. Some of my preconceptions were right, many more were wrong. Now, on the other side of the Red Sea awaits another journey through an even more ancient territory. Egypt. In the next program, I follow the frankincense trail through the land of the pharaohs, where its smoke was used to connect kings with gods.
So that's someone offering incense.
And is still used today by the descendants of the ancient Nubian tribe. I sail along the Nile and witness the blessing of an ecstatic Christian crowd.
It's actually getting a little bit nerve-wracking now.
And through the teeming metropolis of Cairo, the trail leads me deep inside one of the great wonders of the world. And then in the Sinai Desert, I take part in an extraordinary ceremony with a Bedouin healer. From its source in Oman, an epic trade route was forged across Arabia to the Holy Lands, where it was shipped throughout the ancient world. And along the way, entire civilizations emerged from the desert and prospered. Now, 5,000 years after the frankincense trade began, I'm following in the footsteps of one of the great epic trade routes of ancient times. My 2,000-mile journey started in Oman with the Al-Mari tribe, the descendants of the original frankincense traders.
Goodness knows what's going to happen.
The ancient trail led me to Yemen, one of the most dangerous countries in the world and a stronghold of Al-Qaeda.
People keep telling you, there is a risk, there is a risk.
From remote desert villages, I journeyed to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia's glittering modern capital, where I got a glimpse into the lives of the super rich.
I feel like I'm in a Bond film.
With my life in the hands of Saudi's first astronaut, I followed the frankincense path from above.
You're mad!
Safely back on the ground, the trail took me through the Muslim world's most sacred territory to the gateway of Mecca.
Just magical!
700 miles north, I explored the spectacular ruins of a city built entirely on the profits of frankincense. And then I was shown new evidence of the ancient route in the Red Sea, an untouched wreck of a ship. From the coast of Saudi Arabia, I've crossed the Red Sea to reach Aswan in Egypt, to join an even more ancient trade route that followed the River Nile. I'm near Egypt's southern border. This is where the frankincense trail of the pharaohs begins, as does my journey to follow it.
Incense was one of the most important commodities in ancient Egypt because the pharaohs used its smoke to communicate with their gods, and that made it as essential to life back then as water from the Nile.
Vast quantities of frankincense were shipped from the south along the Nile by one people, the Nubians. Their civilization predated the pharaohs, and throughout most of their history, they controlled trade along the river. Today, they still carry profitable cargo, crowds of tourists. Although they no longer deliver frankincense, it still plays an important part in their lives. I've been invited to a Nubian village to see for myself. I'm going to a wedding. I can hear the party before I get there, and I can't wait. Nubians, I'm told, really know how to celebrate a wedding. I'm meeting the father of the bride with my wedding present, some of the frankincense I bought in Oman. Nubian tradition uses incense smoke to consecrate a marriage.
Okay, so Mohammed, this is my present for your daughter. It's good? It's good for the bride? Yes. She will be pleased?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
Nubian weddings have been known to last for anything up to 40 days. Luckily for the groom, Mohammed, his wedding is a relatively short, low-key affair. This is the third and final day. In the time-honoured way, he has had to pay for everything, including transport, accommodation and food for all 200 guests. To be able to foot the bill, he's been saving for 7 years. This is the bride's home, but she stays out of sight until the big moment. Just outside her room, her aunties are preparing for the final wedding ceremony. Using an ancient family recipe, they're creating a special blend of perfumed smoke.
This is a whole kind of precursor before the bride arrives. So the women are getting the frankincense, some of my frankincense, and then some sort of aromatic herbs and bits of bark and things. They're getting all those ready, and I think there's going to be some sort of blessing between the bride and the groom. There seems to be a tremendous amount of ritual here, and although I had a kind of, I suppose, a very traditional English wedding in a church, it kind of pales into insignificance compared to this, which is like a tremendous sort of theatrical performance.
Outside, the family wedding party is joined by the entire village. The main street is blocked off and the dancing begins in earnest. This is when the beautiful bride, 26-year-old Azar, appears. Her arrival is heralded by dancing, singing, and something totally unexpected. Not the heady perfume of frankincense smoke, but the synthetic fragrance of toilet freshener.
I can't believe that I dragged 40 kilos of frankincense here, only to be upstaged by an aerosol.
Finally, the mothers of the bride and groom step forward to give their children away. Like the exchanging of rings, their blessing with incense smoke confirms their bond as man and wife. Tomorrow, I'm returning to the trade route that made the ancestors of my fellow wedding guests very wealthy indeed. After travelling 1,000 miles from the south with their cargoes stacked high, the Nubian traders would have arrived at this remarkable site. This was the gateway to pharaonic Egypt, Philae Temple.
I can't get off here. Can someone help me? Ugh. Shukran. Thank you.
The original temple was built to worship the most important god of the afterlife, Osiris. It was Osiris who decided the passage of the dead into paradise and who also brought life to the world. But this temple didn't just serve a religious purpose.
Because of its geographical location right at the southern point of ancient Egypt's territory and of course right on the river, this temple probably doubled as some kind of trading post. Everything that the pharaohs imported from the lands to the south of here would have travelled along this stretch of the Nile, from elephants to pygmies to wood for construction and, of course, huge quantities of incense.
These inscriptions describe how important frankincense was to the rituals of the pharaohs. They believed its smoke allowed them to assume the power of the gods so they could rule over all of Egypt. And it was burnt in every temple, every day.
This temple may be a remarkable example of ancient architecture and human endeavour, but probably the most extraordinary thing about it is that it wasn't actually built here at all. See that little green lump out in the water there? Well, that's the original Philae Island. That's where this temple stood. But when the Egyptians built the high dam, the entire area flooded, and this temple was submerged almost right to the top. So basically, the Italians got together with UNESCO, got a bit of cash and said, we'll move it to dry land. And what they had to do, you can see the posts sort of sticking out there. That was a mini dam that they built so that they could drain the water away from the temple, literally cut out block by block, bring it back here like a giant jigsaw and reconstruct it. Now, the more lucid among you may be thinking, why didn't they do that before they flooded it? I don't know either.
From Philae, I'm following the frankincense route that continued north along the Nile, supplying the hundreds of temples along its length.
Thank you. Oh, how chivalrous you are.
Yeah.
Ooh,
No free. No free.
It's fine. Hello, my name is Kate. Hi, Kamal. Nice to meet you. Gosh, what a beautiful boat.
I'm sailing on board a felucca, the type of traditional boat that transported frankincense along the river. Made from the trunks of palm trees, feluccas are designed to skim across the Nile's fast-flowing current.
To north. Oh, we've done it! Hooray! I can't believe how high it is. It's so beautiful.
For something like 6,000 years, the Nile has been Egypt's highway, carrying its goods and carrying its people. But it's not just a river, it's the nation's lifeblood. Because this country sees less than an inch of rain each year, Egyptians rely on the Nile for their fresh water. And amazingly, 95% of the population live within a mile of its banks.
Cruise boat is coming.
Ah.
This is way for the cruise boat.
There are a lot of them, aren't there? Many cruise boats.
A lot of cruise boat here, more than 375 maybe.
What do you think of them?
Not good for driver.
Why?
Because a lot of oil,
Yeah.
a lot of smoking for the machine.
How old were you when you first were in charge of a boat like this?
I came a small boy about 6 years.
6
years.
And was it your father's boat?
Was my father. Yeah. My father teach me everything.
Well, I have to say, at this time of day, I can't think of anywhere more beautiful to be than here.
You will.
Thank you.
At dusk, we make camp and boil some of the Nile's water for tea, just as I imagine the frankincense traders would have done. Tomorrow, I'm going to the temple of a pharaoh whose demand for frankincense surpassed any of her predecessors. Less than a mile from the riverbank, built into the mountains that enclose the famous Valley of the Kings, is the temple of Queen Hatshepsut. She ruled Egypt nearly 1,500 years before her more famous successor, Cleopatra, and her consumption of frankincense was legendary. The world's leading expert on Hatshepsut, Dr. Shafransky, shows me one of the very few surviving images of her. Although her face has been vandalized, the unusual position of her hands shows her making a ritual offering of frankincense.
So she would have had oil on, she's got a hand like that, with oil on this finger?
Yeah, these 2 fingers, yeah.
And then like that?
And then put on the statue.
All the way up the statue?
Yes.
And that oil would have been fragranced with frankincense, with
Yes,
these
yes.
imported perfumes that she loves
That's
so
it.
much.
They're the most important, the best in the world.
It seems quite an awkward way to do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
All the pharaohs used frankincense to commune with the gods, but Queen Hatshepsut was the first to burn vast quantities on a huge public scale. And this was designed to prove her divine power to her people.
She created a new feast, the so-called beautiful feast of Amun. A lot of incense was required, and it was a very important element of this feast. And she wanted to bring the best in the world, the best incense in the world.
During the week-long feast, a gigantic pyre of frankincense burned day and night, its cloud of smoke visible from miles away.
And presumably, all these clouds of incense smoke that people were seeing from the Nile meant that she had to make an awful lot of journeys to get that incense from the south.
Yes, yes. We know that she brought heaps of incense.
These 3,500-year-old frescoes are the earliest records in the world of frankincense being transported.
Then we have seen of loading of incense tree, in a basket.
So she actually came up with the idea, rather than of just getting the harvested sap, of taking the whole tree back.
Very wise idea.
Very clever.
Although this temple was Queen Hatshepsut's tomb, her body was never found here. But a recent discovery could have solved the mystery. When I get to Cairo, I'm going to see for myself. Now, it's believed that less than 1% of ancient Egypt has been excavated so far, but you can't just turn up and dig. Dr. Shafransky is taking me to meet the man in charge of all archaeological activity in this whole area.
He's on the phone.
He's one of the most powerful archaeologists in Egypt, and he has a fearsome reputation.
Shall we go in?
Mansour Barak's job is to protect the wonders of ancient Egypt from tourists, TV crews, and especially archaeologists. His rules are strict and his motto simple: break them and you're out.
I'll tell you a story, you know. One member from a mission began to interfere in the work, not in her work. What we did, we let him return back to her home, directly, in 24 hours.
Really?
Because she began to interfere in something not her business, you know.
And what did you do? Did you just go to her and say, pack your bags?
I called the head of the mission. I told him, please, this should leave now the country, because she began to write something which is not her business.
Warning heeded, Mansour agrees to meet me later at one of ancient Egypt's greatest treasures, which just happens to be round the corner from his office.
This is one of the most astonishing things about Egypt. You walk round a corner, and there's yet another walloping great temple.
This is Karnak, the largest religious site anywhere in the world. It's a collection of different temples that represent the combined legacy of nearly every pharaoh who reigned over ancient Egypt.
Pharaohs always wanted to outdo the previous pharaoh. So someone would build a temple, die. Next pharaoh would come along and go, ha, I can do better than that, and would build one even bigger. And so the result is 2 kilometers square of just kind of, well, Egyptians showing off, really.
The first temple was built here nearly 4,000 years ago. From then onwards, Karnak was under constant construction until the birth of Christ.
The scale of this place, of all this ancient Egyptian architecture, just takes your breath away.
The ancient Egyptians believed Karnak to be the god's home on earth, to To show respect to those gods, frankincense would have been burnt here day and night. Mansour has arranged to meet me at Honso Temple, a place where frankincense was prepared by high priests. In this vast maze, I don't have a clue where it is, but he should be easy to find. He's brought 100 school children with him.
It can't be that hard to find 100 school children, surely. Excuse me, Honso Temple.
Khensu.
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 Okay, Khensu. Is it through that way?
One of the many guardians of the site, Abdul, shows me the way.
Can you just go a little bit more slowly? Abdul?
Temple Khensu here. Land. Stop, stop. Yes.
Is that an earthquake?
Yeah.
Earthquake.
Most of the buildings in this corner of Karnak have been destroyed by earthquakes, but Honso Temple remains.
Aha. I think these are the children I'm looking for.
That's cool.
They're here to learn the rituals of their ancestors in a place known by the high priests as the Holy of the Holies. And just as he promised me, Mansour is here to meet me.
I have to say I am so envious of these children because what a place to learn history. I mean, it's just all around
Just to show
you,
them, you know, in a simple way, the
and he's
festival.
burning
You can see the
incense as well.
burning the incense.
High priests used burning frankincense to lead Karnak's most important annual procession, which started in this very temple. In ancient times, the entire city would have followed the priests to where the pharaoh made his dramatic public offering to the gods.
The processions is so important.
Right.
The king came to the temple. The high priest carrying the flame in front of the king with the incense until they reached the statue or the bark of the god. Then he handed it to the king. And the king began to do his rituals in front of the bark or the statue or even the shape, the relief which shows the god.
Okay.
This is something so important in the rituals during the festivals of the ancient Egyptians inside the temples.
And when they were worshipping their gods, I mean, this sounds like an obvious question, but what was it that the pharaohs wanted from their gods? What were they asking for with all this frankincense?
Yeah. Especially, he asked the god to give him the power.
The pharaohs believed this power could give them control over the earth. If they performed the rituals well, it would mean prosperity. If they didn't, their people starved.
Frankincense was key to that religion.
Of course. You can see at the scene. You can see the king.
Yes.
He's carrying the flame and he's burning the incense in front of the shape of the god.
For over 4,000 years, frankincense was used in religious ceremonies throughout ancient Egypt. But its religious significance didn't end with the pharaohs. From Karnak, I'm heading 100 miles north to join a modern-day religious ceremony where frankincense is still being used. I'm sharing a bus with some Christian pilgrims who belong to the Coptic Church, one of the oldest branches of Christianity. Surprisingly, in a country I think of as almost exclusively Muslim, Coptic Christians make up around 10% of the population.
This bus is taking me to Durunka, one of the holiest sites in Egypt, if you happen to be a Coptic Christian. They believe that this is where Mary, Joseph and Jesus fled to escape the persecution of Herod. And every year, up to 50,000 Coptics will make a pilgrimage here to take part in one of the biggest events of the Coptic year.
The monastery of the Holy Virgin here at Durunka is big, about the size of a small town. But every bit of it is crammed with people here to take part in the procession.
Great plan to meet somebody very tall. You know the man, he's very tall. The holy man. Come. Which way?
To help me find my way, I've arranged to meet one of the monks. He hasn't left the monastery for 10 years. He wanted to take himself away from the world. But the irony is, today, the world has come to him.
Deacon Basil!
Yes,
I didn't think I was ever going to find you. So, you are going to lead me in this madness?
Yeah, it's such a blessing.
Okay, I follow you. You go, and I'm.
Yeah, please follow.
Your willing disciple, I think. You came here for a solitary life?
Yeah.
Deacon Basil, you came to the wrong place.
No, this is the right place, but this is the wrong time.
The wrong time. So why does everybody come here at this time of year?
To celebrate the annual fasting named after Virgin Mary.
Okay, but why do it at this time of year when it's so hot and everyone seems to be almost on the brink of madness?
Because it happened that this is according to the Coptic calendar.
Yeah.
We celebrate the fasting of Virgin Mary from 7th to 22nd of August.
Okay.
As part of the celebrations, monks have been praying and burning frankincense in this chapel since dawn. Just like the pharaohs, they believe the holy smoke delivers their prayers to their god. But unlike the pharaohs, they don't have their own reliable supply.
Typically, this should be frankincense, but not usually we manage to find frankincense. So any kind of incense works.
You know what I have?
Well, don't say it's frankincense. It is. That's great.
The monks sing in a language once used by the ancient Egyptians. This is the final prayer before the procession begins outside. But there's another thing Deacon Basil wants me to see. It's a great honour for Coptic families to have their babies baptised here, and the priest will perform about 5,000 baptisms over the next few days.
Are there a lot of Coptics practicing in Egypt now? Because Egypt's predominantly a Muslim country, isn't it?
Yes, it is currently, but Copts are always there.
It's quite rigorous. In Britain, when a child is baptised, they just use a bit of water and they make the sign of the cross on the forehead. The child has to swim.
Yes. We are a biblical church, and that's how Jesus Christ himself got baptized.
Okay.
By being immersed 3 times.
Deacon Basil leads me to the cave Copts believe was once a refuge for the Holy Family. It's one of their most sacred sites, and it's full of volunteers making last-minute preparations for the procession. These men in white robes are amongst the most devoted, and today they're going to be put to the test. Their job is to protect the monastery's bishop as he leads the procession through the crowd outside. Many have been waiting here for 2 days to claim their position. But others haven't gone to the same trouble. Wealthy families have purpose-built viewing rooms that are only used to watch the procession for this one day each year. Then the bishop arrives. 87 years old, he's too frail to walk and will complete the procession in a golf buggy. The crowd believe that a blessing from the bishop will bring good luck to them and their family for the year ahead. The closer they get, the better they think their chance is of this coming true. This procession has been attracting ever bigger crowds over the past decade, with attendance figures almost doubling year after year. Stories of the blessed finding sudden fortune have been a motivation, but it's also been suggested that rising Islamic fundamentalism across Egypt has sparked a new wave of Christian fervour.
We seem to be descending into complete chaos. They're trying to control the crowd with a barrier here, but it looks like fighting's breaking out.
The bishop remains calm as chaos descends all around him. After just 20 minutes, the procession comes to an end as the bishop returns to his solitary life inside the private rooms of the monastery.
The procession is officially over and now it's just processing to get out of town. That was quite possibly the most insane experience I think I've ever had, but despite it being at times actually quite frightening, the number of people and the crush and this kind of fervour. Everyone has been incredibly friendly, and what really comes out is this pride in the Coptic faith. People coming up to me and just saying, look at all these Coptics together, look at them all. There's thousands and thousands of people here and they're all celebrating and they're really proud of that fact. And this sort of thing has been happening all the time, just these little spontaneous outbursts in the crowd. I think the party might go on a lot longer than I can handle.
This has been a crazy day, both exhilarating and frightening. And in that heat and the crush of the crowd, it was also completely draining. I've reached that point where all I want to do is stop, cool down, and go to bed. But this is Egypt, and it feels as if this country never sleeps. The nighttime, apparently, is the time to travel. So I'm catching the 1 a.m. train, and the plan is that I wake up refreshed and ready to go in Egypt's capital city, Cairo, first thing in the morning. That is, if I can ever get in my cabin. Like almost everything in this country, the train line sticks close to the Nile on my 300-mile journey to Cairo. After 5 very short hours and not much sleep at all, I arrive with the morning papers in the middle of the city. Home to 18 million people, its population is growing faster than almost any other place on Earth. And already at 6 a.m., the streets are buzzing. My first stop is the spice market, where frankincense has been traded since Cairo was first built.
So is Cairo a good city to live in?
A good city.
Today the traffic is not so bad?
Today holiday. Cairo will take Friday holiday. Tomorrow very bad traffic.
Very bad.
Cairo wasn't founded by the pharaohs. It was constructed instead by Muslim conquerors from Tunisia just over 1,000 years ago. That's why the heart of it is known as Islamic Cairo. Its maze of alleyways twists around hundreds of medieval mosques and forts.
Can I swap an apricot for some frankincense? Perfect. Okay, thank you. How are you? Good.
The air is filled with the smells of 100 different spices and aromatics. It's a nose-tickling experience. Used for medicines, for ingredients, for talismans, seeds and starfish, oils and incense are still in demand all over Egypt today.
Excuse me. Do you want me to help? Oh. They're
The old city's alleyways lead me to Cairo's famous Museum of Egyptian Antiquities. This is where the pharaoh's priceless artifacts are kept on display. It's also where the mummy, which might be that of Hatshepsut, the frankincense queen, is on show. Before I find her, first I have to make my way through crowds of tourists and 120,000 ancient Egyptian relics. So many that not all of them have been catalogued, but some are famous the world over.
Tutankhamun, the pop star pharaoh. It's staggering, isn't it? Thousands of years after a man's death, people are flocking to see what he was buried with.
Tutankhamun is the best known of all the pharaohs because his tomb, full of kingly treasures which included frankincense, was found intact. When modern-day archaeologists found Queen Hatshepsut's tomb, the treasures and her mummy had gone.
Well, if the details of Hatshepsut's life weren't sketchy enough, her death had also caused Egyptologists to argue and wrangle for years and years. Basically, no one could find a mummy that was definitely Hatshepsut.
But the discovery of the mummified remains of one of her household staff provided a clue.
This is the wet nurse of Hatshepsut. She was called In. She must have been a very beautiful woman. Quite striking with all that red hair.
Another mummy was found alongside her, the remains of an unidentified woman, but much less well preserved.
This was the mummy of a very obese, disease-ridden woman, but recent thinking believes that the face I'm looking at now is the face of Hatshepsut. How she got there, why she ended up in that state, nobody really knows. And the evidence that this is Hatshepsut is based on one tooth. One tooth missing, another tooth found in another coffin that was apparently Hatshepsut's. So it is all still a bit of a mystery.
The ancient Egyptians believed they had to be mummified so they could be resurrected and live eternally in the afterlife. But mummification was only one part of the process they had to undertake to reach the world of the gods. On the edge of Cairo are the most famous monuments in Egypt, built on the orders of pharaohs to help them travel from this life to the next. It was here frankincense was used in some of history's most elaborate death rituals. The tallest of the Great Pyramids of Giza is 450 feet high. For 4,500 years, until the construction of the Eiffel Tower, it remained the tallest structure on Earth. Janice Cameron is one of the world's leading experts on the pyramids.
I remember the first time I saw the Mona Lisa for real, and it was like seeing a celebrity, you know, it was something, I've seen this all my life, and this is the same. It's just, you can't quite believe that this is it, that this is actually real.
It is so big.
It's so big.
It's so big. I remember the first time I came here driving up and it just got bigger the closer you got. It's just enormous.
Can you, what went through the guy's mind? Who thought of this? I mean,
well, you got to get to the sky.
Madness, isn't it?
Get as close as you can.
That was it, was it?
Well,
trying to get to
it.
the sky.
That's part of it, sure.
It's astonishing.
Although it took 100,000 people 20 years to build, it's the tomb of only one man, the pharaoh Khufu.
Why did Khufu build it?
Well, after his death, he became a god, and this was his resurrection machine. That's the Egyptological buzzword.
What do you mean? So the idea was that he would put himself in this to be resurrected and, what, shot out of the top suddenly as a god, or?
One thing that's interesting about ancient Egyptian religion is that this pyramid, this huge mountain of stone, represents kind of a stairway to the sky.
And this is about as big a stairway as anyone could imagine. The ancient Egyptians believed that they entered the afterlife through a specific part of the sky above. But Khufu's journey started deep inside the heart of the pyramid in his burial chamber.
Lead on.
The burial chamber is situated close to the center of the pyramid, 250 feet below its apex.
Which I think what I hadn't appreciated, and I seem really stupid now, but I thought the pyramid was a sort of a pyramid-sized shaped shell, and it would be completely hollow inside, but it's solid rock all the way through.
It is. I mean, the bottom part is actually bedrock. They left a big chunk of bedrock sticking up from the plateau, and then they built quarried stone around it. Okay.
This tunnel leading up to the burial chamber is only 4 foot high and originally was blocked by 3 7-ton granite slabs to stop intruders.
That whole thing about women gently glowing, it's not true, is it? No. I'm not going to look very ladylike, I know, when I get up here. Oh my goodness. Completely unexpected.
It's called the Grand Gallery, and it's a remarkable feat of engineering. It's unique. The technique is called corbelling. See how the stones overlap and overlap until the top? And then straight up that way is the burial chamber.
That's where we're going?
Yeah. Okay. You ready?
Go on, yeah, I'm ready, I'm ready.
Pick a side.
Back. Which way do we go up?
We go up this way.
For anyone taking part in Khufu's funeral, this journey must have been awe-inspiring and terrifying in equal measure. The tunnels would only have been dimly lit by torches and probably full of incense smoke. It must have felt like a procession into another world. Finally, a much smaller tunnel that leads to the pharaoh's resting place.
You can't do this elegantly, can you? You could be in the most modern building in the world.
Once this room was stacked full of treasures that the pharaoh believed he'd need in the afterlife. But they've long since been stolen.
And this?
This is the king's sarcophagus. This is where the coffins and the royal mummy would have been put.
And would frankincense have played a part, or incense would have played a part? Because obviously that played a huge part later on, but is that something that would have been key at this stage as well?
Incense was part of the offering ritual from the earliest periods of Egyptian history. It's listed as part of your main offering and was definitely used as part of the funerary ritual and part of the daily cult ritual. Nice echo, huh? So the first time I ever came here, my friend Stacy and I had the place to ourselves for some reason.
Yeah.
And we sang a rousing rendition of Amazing Grace, which the acoustics were wonderful. It's like singing in the shower times 10.
Yeah. Should we do one? I don't know the words. Come on, do you remember? Come on, you must remember one line. Go on, how does it start? Go on.
Amazing grace.
After the claustrophobia of the pyramid, I've come to Cairo's only green public space, Al Azhar Park, to say goodbye to the city. Families come here for fresh air and for the magnificent sunsets. Tomorrow, I'm leaving the metropolis, leaving behind the Nile River and the mighty trade route of the pharaohs. Now I'm turning east towards the frankincense trail of Arabia. From the Sinai Desert, I'll travel on foot to the Red Sea coast. A local Bedouin known as Farag the Fox has agreed to be my guide across the desert sands to the sea.
That's the frankincense again.
It's a 30-mile journey that takes around 2 days. And of course, we're going to travel by camel.
Head right down.
Yeah. The Bedouin can't live without camel. He's his life, you know. Or
So even though you have the 4x4 now, the camel can't be beaten?
No, but we use the camel, of course. 4x4 can go some places, but the camel can go anywhere.
I'm getting rather used to this now. Riding a camel is sort of like riding a bike. You never forget. But I'll need to look after mine. Camels today are regarded as luxury items. They can cost up to £1,000 each, so they're a big investment, especially in a region with little paid work.
There are still then Bedouin living in the Sinai in the old way?
Yeah, not all of them.
But some?
Some of them live in old way. For the old way, more easy life. Not like the life in the village. Now, if you live in the town, you need to pay money for everything. To spend in 1 day, and dessert you can spend in 20 days. Yeah, no market is very easy, you know.
I think maybe there will be a lot of people who would like to live the Bedouin life, would like to get back to that simple life.
Farag has brought me to meet a traditional Bedouin healer who's famous across all of Egypt. He's famous because he cures people who are ill using only herbs that he collects from the desert.
Dr. Ahmed, salam alaikum. I'm sorry, you are with a patient. Shall I go?
اهلا وسهلا. ده مريض يعني كان عيان شويه هو تعبان شويه.
It's okay.
اوكي تفضل تفضل.
سلام عليكم.
اهلا وسهلا اهلا وسهلا اهلا وسهلا.
Nice to meet you. Please carry on.
ايوه بعدين اللي حصل ايه؟
A self-proclaimed doctor, he has no formal medical qualifications. Instead, Dr. Ahmed uses the knowledge of generations of healers before him to diagnose and treat everything from cataracts to broken bones. This patient has been suffering from severe stomach pain. Dr. Ahmed begins by listening to his blood flow.
Dr. Ahmed, can you tell me what's wrong with the patient?
بالعربي دي قرحه التهابات في الم التهابات في البطن.
I join Dr. Ahmed as he goes to collect the patient's medicine. The desert that surrounds his clinic is his pharmacy. There are 527 varieties of herbs that grow here, and he knows the healing properties of all of them. This is the plant he needs to cure his patient, a type of desert rosemary.
Oh, yeah. Can I Or will I? Oh, it tastes completely different from it smells. Tastes of woody. It's quite nice.
Pharmaceutical companies have used herbs from the Sinai as the basis for commercial drugs since the 1950s. Dr. Ahmed treats all his patients directly from the source.
Wow, what a smell. Look at all this stuff. All these are different herbs for different treatment? Yeah.
After Dr. Ahmed has crushed the plant's leaves, he mixes them with other herbs. With a final 21st century touch, his patient receives his 100% natural medicine.
How quickly will he get better?
This good.
He'll be good?
Yeah. Good. Yes.
We need you in England.
Inshallah.
I rejoin Farag and we continue our journey east. Just a few miles from the coast, Farag decides to stop for the night. And of course, there's a tent to be put up. Not just any tent, but the traditional home of the Bedouin. Spun from goat hair, it's a design that's been perfected over thousands of years.
Any minute now, someone's going to ask for the instruction book.
Yeah, this one. Here. Come to here, to this one.
To this line here?
No, yeah, to this line, yeah.
Yeah.
No, come back more behind.
Back more?
More. All right, yes.
That way?
That way, بعدين نجيب.
Like that?
Yeah, up. يلا واحد أيوة.
Well, that's taken roughly 45 minutes. And I have to say, I don't like our chances of staying dry if it did rain suddenly. There's an awful lot of gaps under here. Maybe that's bedroom air conditioning.
The layout of a Bedouin camp follows strict rules and procedures, and even the camels have to know their place.
The camel in the front of the tent, but if you have a donkey going behind the tent.
Why?
This is what?
It's just the system.
No, the system of the Bedouin, but have also something going. The camel usually, if you see anybody come from anywhere, from the far, he start moved.
It's like a guide, like a guard dog.
Exactly.
Ah.
But the donkey, if you see anybody, he doesn't matter.
Doesn't do anything.
You just make your hand like this. We put him in the bed, you know. This is the Bedouin bread, and this is fish and potatoes and tomatoes all together here.
Oh my word, that looks amazing.
Yeah.
It smells fantastic.
Everything we cook it in the fire.
Perfect. So do you eat just with the bread?
Yeah, like I teach you how.
Okay, go
take
on,
piece
show
of
me.
the bread, and first start take like this with my hand.
Yeah.
And then we start eating.
Oh, this bread is hot and so fresh.
Yeah.
I'm going to try a bit of this.
Yeah.
Oh, good, man. When it's silent like that, you know everyone is really enjoying their food.
Dinner's over by 8 o'clock, and I'm ready for bed.
Would it be okay if I slept outside, because the stars are so beautiful, and in England it's always raining and you never get a chance to sleep outside?
That's okay, no problem.
Yeah? Where would be a good place to go?
I'm to show you the place.
Okay.
Usually we look about the wind.
The wind?
Yeah.
Okay.
To put your head to the direction of the wind.
There is no wind, Farag.
Yeah.
It's completely still.
Yeah, but will be in the night come the wind again. Here, just.
Here?
You can let your car but here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not quite in the tent, but just outside it.
Yeah, of course, outside now.
So I'm just at the edge of the tent, and it is quite bumpy. But frankly, I'm so exhausted. I think I will just sleep incredibly well. Although him talking about breezes, I don't know where that's coming from, because it's absolutely still, and it must still be about 35 degrees. And my view of the stars is interrupted. Call the manager, I'm going to complain.
At dawn, the tent we took so long to erect is taken down again.
I think I can officially say that I'm not tough enough to be a Bedouin. Everyone went to sleep, and I lay down on the bit of carpet that Farag gave me. I was looking at the stars and just thinking, I'm never, ever going to sleep. So, and I just felt so guilty about kind of failing. So I crept out of my torch. I crept out and was sort of scanning around, and I saw a sleeping bag. Yes! So I kind of snuck it back in and unrolled it. So I had about that thick mattress, put a carpet over the top so no one would know, and then finally kind of passed out for about, I don't know, an hour. But it was so hot. So just the temperature never went down at all. And so although it's a very, very beautiful place to sleep, it wasn't the most restful night.
After the Bedouin breakfast of tea and tobacco, we head to the Red Sea. Farag has been measuring our journey according to the time he takes to smoke cigarettes. He's nearly through a whole pack.
How many cigarettes to the village?
Half cigarettes.
Half a cigarette.
Yeah,
Okay, so we're quite close.
Meaning half an hour.
Half an hour.
This tough landscape has made the Bedouin who they are. Every tree and rock has a meaning or a purpose and is inhabited by spirits. There are good and bad spirits. The bad spirits are known as jinn. Someone who is particularly unlucky or suffers from inexplicable ill health is believed to be possessed by jinns. This region is home to a man who has inherited the power to exorcise evil spirits.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sheikh Fauda is able to detect whether someone has been possessed by jinns, and as soon as we're introduced, I begin to feel a little anxious.
When the Sheikh meets someone like me for the first time, does he sort of try and assess, look at me and think, oh, she has a bad spirit, or...?
Yeah, he knows from the eyes of the person, from the face also.
I'm quite nervous now.
Yeah.
The Bedouin of the Sinai believe that possession by jinns is a frightening reality. Just last month, the Sheikh exorcised a man who had inexplicably murdered his family. The evil spirits only become visible in specially prepared smoke. He wants to find out if it's possible that a jinn might have possessed me while I slept.
When you sleep in the night, do you cover your face?
No.
Or you leave it out?
Out.
بتخليه عليها.
You know, when you're a kid, your mum says never accept sweets from a strange man. She never told me what to do in this situation.
You do what you do.
Yeah.
The Sheikh adds frankincense to the burning embers to thicken the smoke. I'm both skeptical and a little afraid.
You stand up and put a blanket up to your background.
Like a cloak or on my head?
Yeah.
No, the head.
On my head. Sit down.
Yeah.
The Sheikh looks for signs of the spirits in the smoke of the burning frankincense. This is my moment of truth. After what seems an eternity, he hands me an ember of the burnt frankincense.
You didn't have anything.
I have no gins.
Everything okay. Quite.
Thank you.
The colour is pure and pale, a sign I'm free from evil spirits.
Is there anything that the Sheikh can do to give me good luck for the rest of our journey?
The last of the frankincense embers are added to water to make a blessing.
Put it on my face?
Yeah.
After this, no jinn come to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I will be safe tonight
Yes.
and for the rest of my journey.
This is exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Shukran.
From Sheikh Fouda's cave, it's only a 2-hour walk to the Red Sea coast.
Wow. The end of Egypt.
Yeah.
All right, just calm down.
Onto the sea. Oh.
This is now the 4th nation that I've crossed on my remarkable frankincense trail. Just across the water is the Kingdom of Jordan, where I'll begin the final stage of my journey. In the next program, I leave camel trains behind and hitch a ride on the longest freight train in Arabia.
There's something quite exciting about going on a train that doesn't take passengers and kind of taking off into the desert.
I meet a daredevil pilot.
You are a girl who knows how to make an entrance.
And we trace the ancient route through one of the most spectacular deserts in the world to a hidden city built by frankincense traders. Then I cross no man's land into Israel to a different way of life and a different world.
What I can do is I can call a rabbi over and explain it to you exactly.
The ancient trade route leads me to the most contested religious territory on the planet, the city of Jerusalem.
People have given up their lives for it.
And then I make my final border crossing to the last stop on my frankincense trail, the village of Bethlehem. And I arrive on the one day of the year when it's the center of the world's attention, Christmas Eve.
The patriarch is coming, and so is every security man in Palestine.
From its source in Oman, an epic trade route was forged across Arabia to the Holy Lands, where it was shipped throughout the ancient world. And along the way, entire civilizations emerged from the desert and prospered. Now, 5,000 years after the frankincense trade began, I'm following in the footsteps of one of the great epic trade routes of ancient times. My journey started at the source of the world's finest frankincense in Oman. With my own supply, I set off on the trail of the original traders and crossed the wild frontiers of Yemen.
We're going to be #1 target for the tribes to kidnap.
1 hour. 1 hour, yeah, no, I know. That's why we have to start.
Then I entered the mysterious world of Saudi Arabia.
You're going to have to give me intensive lessons on how to do this.
Where some of my preconceptions of life in the hidden kingdom were overturned and some were not.
That makes no sense.
From Saudi Arabia's coast, I crossed the Red Sea to join an even more ancient frankincense trade route in Egypt, where frankincense was used by the pharaohs to reach the afterlife and where it's still used today as part of Egypt's wildest Christian festival. Now I'm leaving Egypt to begin the final stage of my frankincense trail. From the port of Aqaba, I'm going to follow the trail to the ancient city of Petra and continue on the trade route towards Gaza before ending my journey in Bethlehem.
Although the modern independent country of Jordan is less than 70 years old, this area was once home to one of the ancient world's richest and most powerful civilizations, thanks to the incense trade. And my plan is to head to the middle of the desert to see their magnificent capital.
The route the frankincense traders would have taken towards Petra is miles from any road. But a railway line runs close to the original path. So I've come here to catch a lift on one of the longest freight trains in Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum. Do I come up here?
This train heads directly into some of Arabia's most spectacular landscape, a mountainous desert known as the Wadi Rum.
I don't know why it should be, but there's something quite exciting about going on a train that doesn't take passengers and kind of sneaking in with the drivers and taking off into the desert. Is it very difficult to drive, or it does just itself? Not difficult. You can sit, you can smoke, you can have a cup of tea. Life is good. I'd love some coffee, yes please. Jordanian coffee.
The train has brought me through the highest mountain range in Jordan. The camel caravans once had to negotiate their way through here, and I want to try and work out the most likely route they took. To do that, I need to leave the train.
Drive safely!
To get a better idea of what the frankincense traders were up against, I want to get a view of these mountains from above. So So I'm meeting a pilot who I hope can help me find the route they would have taken.
Great bus service here in the Wadi Rum.
By camel, this section of the route would have taken about 4 days. It'll be a lot quicker and easier by plane.
Hello! You are a girl who knows how to make an entrance.
Besma Al-Magri is an instructor from a flying club near here, so she knows every rock and valley of the Wadi Rum.
And this area is the Wadi Rum?
It is. We're actually going to be heading north from here, so more to the northwest. We're going to go up close so we can get an aerial view of how it looks like from up above.
Beautiful day. It is a beautiful day. And what we're flying down now is almost like a kind of massive sand motorway. I mean, it's a very clear highway through the mountain. It would have been these sorts of areas that the camel caravans would have used, these big, flat, easily navigable sand areas between the mountains.
Then Besma decides we should take a closer look.
It is just such a pleasure to see Wadi Rum from the air, although it feels like we're barely in the air.
Yes.
How high up are we?
We're approximately about 200 feet off the ground.
Is that legal?
Barely legal, barely legal.
What a landscape to travel through. It must have been just incredible walking through here with those great caravans and just being amongst this landscape.
Absolutely. The formation of the rocks are really incredible. They just go in every single direction.
Yeah, it's like nature gone mad.
These mountain ranges once channeled the frankincense traders along a single route northwest. At that time, this region was under the control of a local tribe known as the Nabateans. They guaranteed the safe passage of all the trade caravans that passed through their territory, but for a price. As a result, they became extremely wealthy. Their control of the frankincense trade route made the Nabateans the most powerful civilization in ancient Arabia, and at the center of their empire was their extraordinary capital city, Petra. On the outskirts of Petra is evidence of how the Nabateans administered the trade route. The remains of a 3,000-year-old building that acted as a checkpoint.
This is really important as far as the incense trail goes, because what we're looking at is a watchtower. What happened was the camels would come from the Wadi Rum where we were flying this morning, and they would come to this big wide area here which was known as a station. Now behind this area is Petra. You can see the little white point on top of the mountain there. Now the caravans didn't go to Petra because why on earth would you take camels that have done a huge journey already up over those mountains? So the guys stationed here at this watchtower would light fires, send smoke signals over to Petra to say the caravans are here, there's cash to be made.
And it was that steady stream of cash from the frankincense trade that built this, Petra. For close to 1,000 years, this was the capital city of the Nabateans, and at its peak, it was home to 30,000 people. It was once the most opulent city in all of Arabia. Built deep into the middle of a mountain range, the entrance to the city must be the most spectacular in the world. Known as the Seek, it's a twisting gorge that follows an ancient watercourse. Once you enter the Seek, you're trapped. There's only one way in and one way out. In Nabatean times, it was heavily guarded from the cliffs above, and no one would have reached the city unnoticed. At the end of the gorge, a spectacular glimpse of what lies ahead. It's Petra's most recognized landmark, known as the Treasury. Historian Jane Taylor joins me as it first comes into view.
What's wonderful is being able to see the treasury just little by
Just
little.
little glimpses.
I think it was intended really to gobsmack people as they came in. They were cowering after this long, narrow gorge, and then,
Legend has it that the treasury got its name when bandits hid their loot in the stone urn at its centre. Local Bedouin was said to have fired at the urn in the hope of breaking it open so it would spill its treasure. Their hopeful bullet holes peppered the ancient stone, but what they didn't realise was that the whole structure, including the urn, was carved from solid rock.
all these buildings, or not buildings, but carved monuments, were actually started from the top, so they would probably have lowered themselves by ropes of some kind.
Right from the top of there, and then sort of effectively abseiled down.
Yes, and then start chipping.
The Nabateans' extensive trading empire linked them to the money and cultural influence of the Mediterranean world.
So the very fact that they were key to all these trade routes crossing all over the peninsula then meant that they could have really spectacular architecture as well.
And they could afford to bring in the best artisans, so they probably had someone, one of the best masons from Alexandria, who came and showed them how to do it.
Inside is a chamber which may have been used as a type of tomb.
If this was some sort of mausoleum, would there have been rituals here? Would there have been incense burnt here?
It's possible. We don't really know what happened. There seem to have been some sort of rituals because there's that little ablution basin there. But what went on inside, we don't know. But of course, I'm sure they were very careful about using the frankincense themselves because they wanted to sell it on to the Romans, who used it as though there was no tomorrow.
This city may be one of the great treasures of the ancient world, and it's certainly Jordan's top tourist attraction. But it was also home to the local Bedouin community as recently as the 1980s. Rami was born in one of Petra's many caves. His mother, a New Zealander, married a local Bedouin.
It is an astonishing place to grow up, isn't it? I mean, look at this. What a view you had.
That was my playground, I think. And this is the cave that we used to live in.
Wow. Can we go in still? I mean,
I think so, it's open. I was born here. So this used to be our home. This used to be the cooking area here.
okay.
Yeah, my dad bought them a small stove that they used here. In the daytime, all the bedding would be put over there, so this area would all be free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then at night time, when it was time to sleep, they just take the bedding off and use it here.
And you shared this with your mum, your dad, and your elder sister?
Yeah, all of us. I can't remember much. It was great.
No.
Apparently, I set fire to the cave.
I can truly believe it. And it looks like, I mean, it hasn't been completely abandoned. Why?
Well, they're using it now for the Petra night guard. So he sits here. It's got the best view of Petra, so the night guard can see the whole area from here.
When Rami's father died, his mother took her children to live in Australia. But after 10 years, Rami's returned to his roots.
And do you think, though, that what was really pulling you back was that Bedouin blood? Do you think the kind of spirit of your dad said, you've got to come back to Petra whether you like it or not, son?
I think it was the freedom.
Was it?
Yeah, the Bedouins, we love our freedom.
But freedom to choose a route was not an option for the frankincense traders. They needed the Nabateans' protection from bandits, and so they had to stick to one fixed path all the way to the Mediterranean. Their journey from Petra to Gaza took them around 1 week. So I can follow their trail into what is now Israel, I have to cross the border at Eilat before I can rejoin the traders' path. These days, very little trade passes between Jordan and Israel. This border crossing is mostly used by tourists.
Goodbye, Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. Hello, no man's land. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, shukran. Bye-bye. of all the border crossings I've done on this journey, and there have been many, this one is kind of the most significant because I've been through 5 Arab Islamic countries so far. But this isn't just a crossing from one country to another. It's a whole transition from one culture and one religion and one way of life to another that is so different.
Israeli border guards are renowned for conducting thorough interviews and searches of all foreigners, particularly those who've travelled across other Middle Eastern nations.
Well, I have to say, I'm quite surprised at how laid back this crossing is so far. I was slightly expecting a kind of barrage of Israeli soldiers. But it's gone pretty smoothly so far. Please follow the arrows. How can you follow the arrows when there's one in that direction and one in that direction? Right, well, we are nearing a security check, and I am suspecting that our cameras may be forcibly turned off at this point, but we'll see how far we can go. Now I have to say the right thing. Shalom?
Yeah.
Yeah, a few. In here? Okay. Well, that was all easy so far. Passport control. Hi. Shalom. Do you have information about me on your computer? Do you? What does it say? Nice things? Bye-bye. Right, I seem to be in Israel.
Less than a mile from the border is Eilat, Israel's only city on the Red Sea.
A lot of the buildings then are very modern, quite a modern city.
This is, it's a new city. This is city, it came like before 25 years. It was nothing.
Nothing.
All the people make trouble in Israel, you know, when they get to court, the judge tell them, okay, your punishment is to go Eilat.
Really?
Yeah.
It was like kind of Israel, Siberia. Send you off to there.
Send Eilat, so
Really?
send lots of people. And this is how we develop Eilat.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
I will.
It was incredible. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. See you. Bye-bye.
Today, the people of Israel come to Eilat to relax. I'm just staying for a night before I head back to the desert and my frankincense trail tomorrow.
Hi, Shalom. I've got a room booked.
Your name, please?
Humble, H-U-M-B-L-E.
Okay, your keys. Okay, now you do realize that you're checking in and it's Shabbat this weekend.
No, what's Shabbat?
It's the holy weekend of the Shabbos. I can call a rabbi here to explain it to you if you'd like.
That would be good, because I have no idea
All right,
what to do. Okay. Okay, one moment. Great, thank you. Do you have my key? Oh, brilliant. Shall I grab my key?
Yeah, of course. Now, before he comes and I let you go, this is your key, room 937
Yeah.
on the 9th floor.
Wonderful, thank you.
Shalom Aleichem. Hi.
Hi, Shalom.
Shalom.
I'm fine.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm quite clean.
It's okay.
Do you not shake hands?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I wondered, I mean, I won't want to clutter up reception, but would it be possible for you to explain to me about Shabbat? Because it's not something I'm familiar with at all.
Oh, yeah, with pleasure.
Okay.
Pleasure, yeah.
Rabbi Yuval is the hotel's in-house rabbi. One of his main tasks is to ensure that the many rules of Shabbat, the Jewish holy day that begins at sunset each Friday, are observed.
What am I going to notice with Shabbat? What can I not do and can do?
First of all, you're not allowed to use any electric machine on Shabbat. You're not
Right.
allowed to drive, not to light a fire.
Can I dry my hair?
Nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Can I not use the lift?
You can use, but there is a special one for Shabbat. It takes you by itself all the way to the...
How does it know? Do I say 9th floor?
No, it goes all the way up.
Can we go
and-
in it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, this one? Is
Yeah.
this the Shabbat one?
Yeah.
Everything's just automatic, is it?
Yes, it is, but now it's not Shabbat, so...
So you can press the button?
Yeah.
After sunrise? Oh, after sunset,
You're not
rather?
allowed to do this.
But you don't need to?
No, by itself. By itself, there is a special clock for the reception that put the elevator on Shabbat.
What happens if the elevator breaks?
If the elevator breaks, then we have a tiny problem.
My Shabbat tour extends to the kitchen, where there seems to be rules for everything.
Over here, you see?
Yeah.
That's a coffee machine.
Yeah.
On Shabbat, you're not allowed to use this. But,
Yeah.
you see the button over here?
Yeah.
When it's like this,
Yeah.
then it's for weekdays.
Yeah.
When the security takes it to the right side,
Yeah.
it's for Shabbat.
And it'll just work automatically?
For Shabbat, yeah. Especially for Shabbat. No, nothing to use, everything mechanic. No electric, nothing.
So a lever is fine because it's mechanical.
Mechanical.
But you can't press a button.
Nothing.
In that case, then you can open a fridge because that's a lever. It doesn't matter that it's an electrical piece of equipment.
You can open it, but at the fridge there's a problem. At the fridge you have a light.
Yeah.
So before Shabbat, just put something on the light just to take it off, and you can use it whatever you want.
But you're not physically switching on that light. You're just opening a door.
But you're doing something. It was off before. You did something. It's on. So there is something you did.
Complicated.
If you get used to it, then we don't have a problem.
And down in the basement, Rabbi Yuval has something else to show me.
Am I allowed in here?
Yes, you are allowed, but your place is on the left side.
Women have to stay there?
Women stay on the left side and men on the right side.
Where do you go then?
My place is right here.
There. But they're not going to be able to see you.
No, they are, yes. They can
How?
see me.
You go and stand there. I'm going to
Please.
test this out. I can't see you. You're
No,
surrounded
you
by
can, yeah, but
curtain.
I'm right here. You can open the...
What, look through the curtain?
A little bit, yeah.
That seems a little unfair. Why aren't we allowed to look at you?
It might... we need to have separation between...
So you might... Are you saying that if the women are too pretty, you might get distracted and that's a problem?
First of all, I'm not allowed to see if the woman is pretty or prettier. Okay? It might be a problem.
Can you give me some sort of idea of what a Shabbat service is like? Do people sing hymns or there is singing?
You want to hear something?
Yeah.
Shalom aleichem al achei shalom.
Although I've only been here for a couple of hours, I'm struck by the way ancient Jewish traditions seem so integrated into modern-day life. The next morning, I'm back in territory once controlled by the ancient Nabatean Empire. The modern road follows the exact path of the ancient trail across a 6-mile-wide crater in the desert known as the Maktesh Ramon. But it suddenly ends at what appears to be an almost vertical cliff face.
The most direct route out from the bottom of the crater up to the top was obviously far too steep for camels, so the Nabateans were forced to bring all their engineering skills to task and build a camel-friendly road which zigzagged all the way up this cliff face.
The Nabateans directed the frankincense traders this way because it was the easiest route for them to guard.
Look at that.
The path here travels through wide open desert and allowed little chance for marauders to stage an ambush. And the view from the top meant that soldiers could keep a close eye on the camel caravan's progress.
This building would have been a checkpoint and a watchtower, and it was probably manned by soldiers who had done something absolutely awful, because although it's spectacular now, it must have been a really desolate and incredibly lonely posting.
From the top of this mountain pass, the frankincense traders only had 2 days of walking ahead of them before the end of their 2,000-mile journey to Gaza, and it was all downhill. And after covering most of the journey myself, I can just imagine their sense of relief.
Brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. Right, I'm going to go and explore.
"30 miles outside Gaza are the ruins of Shifta. This was the final stop before the end of the trail. From here, most of the frankincense went to Gaza, where it was distributed across the Mediterranean Sea.
Gaza is just over that hill over there. And frustratingly, I can't go there because politically it's simply too dangerous at the moment. But my situation isn't unique. Gaza is such a strategic port that it's been under attack for millennia. So when caravans reached this point, they had a choice. If they couldn't go to Gaza, they could head to the southwest towards Alexandria, or they could take a route to the north. And that's where I'm headed.
70 miles from here is one of the world's most important religious centres, where frankincense has always been in demand, Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is a fascinating and complicated place. It's a city that's inspired passions so great that people have given up their lives for it. Both the Israelis and the Palestinians view this as their capital, and it has enormous significance for 3 separate religions.
The Muslim, Jewish and Christian communities each consider Jerusalem a sacred city. It was here the Muslims believe Muhammad ascended into heaven. For the Jews, it's from where God created the world. And for the Christians, it was in Jerusalem where Jesus rose from the dead. I've come to where more frankincense is burned in worship than in any other place in Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. This is one of the holiest sites in the Christian world because it's believed it's where Jesus was crucified and from where he was resurrected. The entire church has been built around what's thought to be his tomb. It's enclosed by a 16th century wooden shrine called the Holy Sepulchre. Five different branches of the Christian faith claim ownership to the church. Each one celebrates according to their own tradition, and there has been conflict. Although their prayers are spoken in different languages, they're all sanctified with frankincense every day of the year. Less than 5 minutes walk away from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is another sacred site where a different prophet is believed to have ascended into heaven. Today, it's Jerusalem's best known and most controversial landmark.
For Muslims, Jerusalem, or Al-Quds as they call it, has huge holy significance because it has the most important site for them after Mecca and Medina. Under that beautiful golden dome is the rock where Muhammad is said to have stepped up into heaven. So for Muslims, this is the closest place on earth to paradise.
And I can't go there because it's been temporarily closed to non-Muslims, following another in a long line of disagreements between Muslim leaders and the Jewish government. It's one of the most contested territories on the planet. Both the Muslims and the Jews claim ownership of the land directly beneath the Golden Dome. Although crowned with a symbol of Islam, the Jews believe this is where God created the world and made it the site of their first temple. That temple was destroyed by the Babylonians and another built in its place, which was then destroyed by the Romans. I'm going to all that remains of the temple's foundation wall, which has become one of the most important pilgrimage sites for Jews the world over. According to Jewish law, the devoted are obligated to feel grief for the lost temple when they first approach what is today known as the Western Wall.
The Western Wall is the holiest place for Jews today. They believe that somehow the divine presence is trapped within the stones, so to come here and to pray and to physically touch the wall is as close to God as they can get on earth.
Many pilgrims leave prayers tucked in the cracks in the wall, a tradition believed to have started in the 18th century. When Barack Obama was here during his campaign trail, he too left a prayer, which was later removed and published to wide condemnation. The wall is segregated, so the camera crew have to stay outside as I go into the women's section.
It's a real crush. Some people are pressed right up against the wall, and standing here I can see, stuffed in the cracks, all the prayers that people have put in. And apparently, even if you can't get here yourself, you can send a prayer, either in the post, or there's even a dedicated fax line. And one of the officials here will come and put it in the wall for you.
I'm amazed by people's reactions here at the wall. It literally is a touchstone to an era when the temple that stood here was the center of Jewish life. When the temple was destroyed by the Romans, many sacred Jewish rituals were lost, including the burning of frankincense. But now one Jewish group has elaborate and seemingly impossible plans to rebuild the temple for the third time on the original site. Only then do they believe that frankincense can be offered again during a Jewish religious ceremony. I'm meeting a rabbi who's dedicated his whole life to this dream.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you. You're Yehuda. Can I shake your hand?
Try.
Thank you very much. I'm never quite sure whether I'm allowed to or not.
Yehuda Glick's organisation has meticulously researched the exact building requirements outlined in Scripture to rebuild the Holy Temple. They have tens of millions of dollars pledged to start construction at short notice. Yehuda has even prepared a sacred mix of frankincense.
Oh, it is a lovely smell.
People would come to the temple, would want to meet God with each and every one of their five senses. They want to be close as possible. The most spiritual of our five senses is the smell. So when a person enters Jerusalem, he like breathes the holiness into his lungs. He smells it and he feels close. Here I am, getting close to God. They would sneeze from the smell of the incense coming from Jerusalem.
Now you're confusing me a little, because you're talking about this ritual as if it still happens, and then you're going into the past again. Is this a ritual that still goes on within Jewish ceremonies?
This took place every single day in the temple until 2,000 years ago, when the Romans destructed the temple, the Holy Temple. It will be renewed speedily, hopefully, as soon as possible, upon the rebuilding of the third temple. And then we will once again bring the incense daily to the altar. Here we have the incense altar in its actual size.
Exactly the same.
Made of acacia wood coated with gold.
That's solid gold?
Real gold, yes. This is acacia wood coated with gold, ready to be used. As soon as I get that phone call.
Which phone call? From God? From who?
One phone call from the government of Israel,
Yeah.
from the United Nations,
Yeah.
that we got permission to build. Then I'll give you a call. You'll help me carry the vessels, because the vessels here are ready to be used in the third temple.
Can we go and see the proposed site?
Let's go.
This way?
Yep.
Wow, climbing up into the sky.
Now we're into the sun, but actually to see the foundation stone of where God began the creation of the world. Don't take a picture of the mess. Take a picture of the mess there.
What are you referring to as a mess?
I would say the fact that the Jewish people cannot freely go to where the holiest place for the Jewish people in the world, and the fact that the Muslims took over the entire site. And what we're trying to do is trying to promote a totally different message, a message that the entire world, including Muslims, including Christians, unite around one house of prayer.
And that one house of prayer is going to be where then?
It's located exactly where the Dome of the Rock is. The dome there is protecting the rock, and that rock is the Holy of Holies.
What you want to do is destroy the Dome of the Rock and build the third temple.
What we would like to do is build the third temple.
I wish I could believe that it could happen, but what I think is if you try and build what is to the outside world a Jewish temple on a Muslim site, all that's going to happen is it's going to cause a war. Is it worth it?
You know what it'll do? This will do to employment, to poor Arabs, to poor Jews, to bringing and raising the entire economy of the State of Israel, raising and of course, making much more delicate the spiritual relationship between mankind and God.
I don't know if Yehuda will ever have the chance to burn frankincense on the Temple Mount, but in a city that's been captured and recaptured 44 times by conquerors of different faiths, you never know. Since I started my journey, frankincense has been used in ceremonies and blessings across 6 nations. Now I want to offer some of my Omani frankincense that I've carried for nearly 2,000 miles to be used in perhaps the most famous religious celebration in the world.
Incense is still key to many Christian services, not least the Mass that's celebrated at midnight on December the 24th. It was also, of course, one of the gifts brought by the 3 wise men to a newborn baby in Bethlehem. So, what more fitting end to my journey than to see my incense burnt at the Church of the Nativity on Christmas Eve?
This is the office of the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, a Catholic priest who is second in line to the Pope. Tomorrow he leaves for Bethlehem to take the midnight mass, but before he goes, his assistants have arranged for me to have a 5-minute audience.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So, how do I address your beatitude? Okay.
I've never met a patriarch before. It's a little overwhelming.
Good morning.
Hello, welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Beatitude.
Good morning.
Good
Most
morning.
welcome.
Thank
Great,
you.
great. We
Really?
welcome you. We welcome your initiatives. We bless you and your activity. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord bless
You're
you.
very, very kind to
Most
see us.
welcome.
Thank
Most
you.
welcome.
I've brought you is frankincense that I brought in Oman. So
Great.
it's travelled with me many, many miles. And I wondered if you might be able to mix it with the incense that you'll use in the Mass in the Church of the Nativity on Christmas Eve.
Thank you. We will mix it, and we are grateful for this initiative. It is precious for us, means a lot for us. The wise men used to come from the Orient. This year we make an exception. The wise people come from England and from America. Yeah.
And the significance of burning it during the Mass, what is that?
Significant that we obey, we adore the Lord. It was done for kings. We will do it, and we hope that kingdom of God will reign everywhere with his peace, with his benediction for all of the region.
I think it will be now.
God
Thank you
bless,
so much.
God bless,
Bye-bye.
God bless.
Happy Christmas.
Tomorrow, on Christmas Eve, the Patriarch will be celebrating the Nativity Mass, one of the biggest events in the Christian world. I'm going to the small village outside Jerusalem where it's being held, Bethlehem in the West Bank, formerly known as Palestine. But to get there isn't easy. The Palestinians are separated from Israel by one of the most tightly controlled crossings in the world. Luckily for me, it's a quiet day, and I'm able to walk straight across and meet a local journalist who's going to escort me into Bethlehem.
Are you Ali?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Really nice to see you.
Bethlehem.
Thank you very much.
Oh. Welcome to Palestine again.
Oh, thank you. Shukran. This is my frankincense.
Oh my God.
So I hope maybe your family will like some or something.
Hopefully.
This is the final leg of my journey, but for the first time, I'm not in a place that's officially recognized as a country. The West Bank is occupied territory, captured by Israel more than 40 years ago. The Palestinians see it as part of their historic and future state of Palestine. Today, it's separated from Israel by a vast barrier, built, they say, on Palestinian land.
It separates Bethlehem, and it is in the lands of Bethlehem. You see there?
Yeah.
It's in the lands of Bethlehem.
It's actually in Palestine.
In
itself.
Palestine. It was planned to be, according to the Israelis, to ensure security for the Israeli people from the Palestinian suicide attackers.
And they have a point, don't they? Because there have been many Palestinian attackers.
If they have a point, okay,
Yeah.
we don't, there's no problem. But build your wall on your borders.
Okay,
Now,
the problem is that they've built it on Palestinian
On
land.
Palestine. Only 19% was built on the borders line.
Bethlehem is a Palestinian city
Yes,
within the Palestinian territory,
yes,
but it's still enclosed in a wall.
yes. And all the Palestinian cities are closed in the wall.
Every city in the West Bank
yes.
is enclosed by a
Yeah.
wall.
We
You have no freedom of movement whatsoever.
Ever, no way. From one city to another, you need to pass checkpoints. You
Run
have to,
by who?
By the Israelis, of course.
Ali tells me this was once a thriving neighborhood. Now the only signs of life come from graffiti artists. Although their sentiment is appreciated by the locals, their artworks can't disguise the fact that Palestinians are effectively prisoners in their own land.
Wow.
Go
Across
ahead
here?
and have a look. You will see the perfect view from here.
Wow.
The barrier is currently over 250 miles long and is still under construction. It's patrolled 24 hours of the day, every day of the year, by the Israeli Defense Force.
The piece of land right in front of us with all the trees on,
It's
is that Palestinian?
Palestinian lands.
Right.
It's a Palestinian lands. All the olive lands here
Yeah.
are Palestinian. This is the Aida refugee camp there.
Right.
It's one of the 3 refugee camps in Bethlehem area
Refugees from what?
from what is now called Israel.
Okay,
And
so
I'm one of them.
how can you still describe the area that you live in as a refugee camp?
The refugees left their villages
Yeah.
having nothing with them. They left the lands, so that these people became very poor. And the opportunities in this country are very, very, very few. So it isn't easy for you to, let's say, to have a good life. No way.
If life is so impossible living in here, why don't you leave? Why don't you go to, I don't know, to Europe or to other parts of the Middle East? Surely you'd be welcome there.
Why to go? It's our land. If we have few opportunities nowadays, I'm sure we are going to create our opportunities in the future because we have the future.
So much that we hear about the West Bank is associated with bad news, and it hadn't occurred to me that Bethlehem could be so vibrant. But since the barrier was constructed, the people here have become more and more isolated from the outside world. And so Christmas has become really important to this mostly Muslim community. Tomorrow, they're holding a parade to celebrate the arrival of the Patriarch and Christians from around the world.
It's so strange being in the Middle East and seeing things like Father Christmases up in the window, isn't it?
It's wonderful. And you will see a lot people wearing such clothes in the
really,
streets.
we're wearing Santa Claus outfits?
And distributing sweets for the
Oh,
kids
really?
and people.
Oh, how lovely. Oh, look, and there are more here.
Yeah. The Christianity was born here. What is strange?
I know, but I suppose because all my experiences of the Middle East so far, apart from Jerusalem, have been entirely Islamic. So it is suddenly odd to see these little shops, I know, with their Christmas decorations in the window.
Look, the Christmas, of course, the Christmas is a Christian occasion.
Yeah.
But for us, the Palestinian, the Christian, the Christmas is a national occasion. We celebrate it as a national occasion.
It'll be a
And
national holiday for everybody?
We are very proud
Yeah.
that Jesus is a Palestinian. We are very proud. Look, I'm not...
Wowza, you could cause all sorts of trouble with that.
No, it's not a trouble.
Okay.
Isn't he a Palestinian?
I don't know.
He's a Palestinian. He was born here.
Okay.
He's a Palestinian. We are very proud of our prophet.
And from the sound of it, Palestinians and the people of Bethlehem really have taken the Christmas story to heart. Ali's left me to follow the strained tune of Jingle Bells to a schoolyard. These students belong to 1/5 of the population here in Bethlehem who are Christian. Their bagpipes are a hangover from the days when the British Army occupied Palestine between 1920 and 1948.
My name's Kate. Hello, I'm so sorry just to walk in here, but I heard it on the street. This is amazing.
We are training for tomorrow. As you see,
You're going to take part in the parade tomorrow?
Yes. My name is Imad Abu Sada.
Very nice to meet you, Imad.
I am the leader of my group.
Of the band?
Yes. It's very difficult.
But why did you choose bagpipes of all things? They're impossible things to play.
What we want to do. This is life.
You're Palestinians. You never make anything easy. Is that right?
Everything is difficult here in our country. Everything. Even if I want to breathe the air, it's very difficult to breathe it. If you want to come and to see, you can.
Let me come. I'm going to walk with you.
I didn't leave it.
Jingle bells is never going to sing the stick for me. Never again.
In the centre of Bethlehem is the Church of the Nativity, the oldest continuously operating church in the world. According to Christian tradition, it's built above the place where Jesus was born. The small entrance to the church is known as the Door of Humility. It leads directly to the oldest part of the building, the Basilica of the Nativity. It was first constructed 500 years after Christ's death by the Romans. Since then, the church has been endlessly rebuilt, and today it's administered jointly by 3 churches: the Greek Orthodox, the Roman Catholic, and the Armenian Apostolic. At the far end of the basilica, beneath the altar, is said to be the actual birthplace of Jesus, known as the Grotto of the Nativity. Now that I'm here, it's not hard to imagine 3 kings kneeling down in front of an infant, offering their gifts from afar, and the aroma of frankincense filling the air. This is one of the most holy sites of pilgrimage for Christians from around the world. It's the day before Christmas, and it's the last day of my journey on the frankincense trail.
Wow! What a contrast to yesterday. The square was completely empty and there were hardly any signs of Christmas at all, apart from a couple of plastic Father Christmases. And now, it really has started. Christmas has come to Bethlehem, along with bagpipes and drums.
The parade is being held to celebrate the Patriarch's imminent arrival from Jerusalem. Hopefully, he won't have forgotten to bring my frankincense with him.
That's just too weird! To have jingle bells and sort of Christmassy songs on one side and the call to prayer, Muslim call to prayer on the other. I think that sums up Palestine. Fine, how are you?
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Yes, really wonderful.
How is everyone feeling? Good?
Yeah, they are feeling cold only.
Cold, yeah, I bet.
And they feel tired.
And tired. But they look wonderful. The uniform is very smart.
Thank you.
Great. I can't wait to see them perform.
And perform they do, along with other teenagers from the Christian community. This is the biggest event of their year.
Never believe that this is a country that seems so much strife and so much war in very, very recent times. And all you can feel at the moment is this kind of sense of joy and excitement. It's just fantastic.
And then the mood suddenly changes as waves of security men signal the arrival of the Patriarch.
Okay. Well, as you can see, the Patriarch is coming, and so is every security man in Palestine. It feels like we're absolutely crushed in here, trying to get a view of him.
Accompanied by high-ranking priests from around the globe, pilgrims and the world's media, the Patriarch leads a tidal wave of people inside the Church of the Nativity. There's only limited space and it's every person for themselves.
We've escaped the crush from the outside. There's still a huge crush here, and we've got into the church. And what I'm hoping, I think we might need to go that way actually, what I'm hoping is that we might be able to see him actually using my incense to prepare for the Mass tonight. But as you can see, there's the entire world's press here. There are cameras and slightly stroppy cameramen, all trying to get the shot. It's amazing we've got this far, actually.
Somehow, I'm amongst the first to make it into the church where the Mass of the Nativity is going to be held. And there's no going back. Hundreds more people crowd in behind me, eagerly awaiting the arrival of the Patriarch. While he's getting dressed in his vestments, my frankincense is added to the sacred censer. Like the pharaohs and emperors of ancient times, Catholic priests use frankincense smoke to send prayers to their God. Then the Patriarch begins the service.
My frankincense has just made the final leg of its journey with the Patriarch.
As cameras begin to transmit the Mass across the globe, political leaders from the region are rushed in. Tonight, Christians, Muslims and Jews each sit side by side. 2,000 tickets have been sold to attend this service, but there are even more people outside, desperate to get in. Drawn from around the world by faith, by history and even by curiosity, the sweet-smelling smoke of frankincense envelops us all. It's hard to believe that I've reached the end of my journey.
This is frankincense.
When I began 2,000 miles away with Musalem, the frankincense harvester, I started on the path that first linked Arabia with the Western world, and I wondered how I was ever going to make it.
How are you doing with the gun?
The gun is pretty heavy.
For 3,000 years, the traders carried frankincense northwards, first across Arabia's vast deserts, and then the Red Sea. In Egypt, it was delivered along the Nile and used in every one of the pharaoh's temples for millennia. But with the fall of the Roman Empire, the great frankincense trade routes faded from the map. Along every step of my journey, I found frankincense still entwined in the lives of the people along the trail. Afra blessed her baby with its smoke. Its fragrance welcomed Saudi Arabian chiefs. And in its flames, Sheikh Fuad searched for evil spirits. Some of the traditions I saw on my journey were thrilling.
Oh, that had to have hurt.
Some celebrated life, while others worshipped death. But despite the danger of kidnap, the searing desert heat and the 24-hour days of travel, the toughest challenge I faced was overcoming my own preconceptions. From one end of Arabia to the other and along the length of the Nile, the 5,000-year-old history of the frankincense trail has revealed the true spirit of the modern Middle East. Frankincense has brought great hardship and great reward. Men have fought for it, died for it, and mighty civilizations have been built on the back of it. It was revered by emperors, pharaohs, and kings, and for 2,000 years its perfumed homes warded off evil spirits and connected people with their gods. And today, in this small Palestinian town, it's united people in their celebration of Christmas. Isn't it incredible what the sap of a little gnarled tree can do?
Join Joanna Lumley in the land of the Northern Lights. That's tomorrow at 6 on BBC HD.